Chapter 1258. Standing at the very front was Wei Chong. Beside Wei Chong was Lai Gu. Next to Lai Gu was Yi Zizi. Next to Yi Zizi was Ju Tian. Next to Ju Tian was Brett. Next to Brett was Ching Su. Next to Ching Su was Pig Liver Teng. Yi Hua swept his gaze across everyone. His gaze was fiery. It has been more than 10 years. I finally gathered all of my subordinates. The last time I saw them was during the final battle. Thinking about it, the memory of them was still fresh in my mind. Right now, I can still clearly remember that they are all standing right in front of me. Only some of them became fat, and some of them became thin. This contrast is really interesting. Looking at His Honor's fiery gaze, the subordinates were a little infected. Later on, His Honor is definitely going to say some heroic words to motivate the entire team. Wei Chong was thinking, His Honor is definitely thinking about how to praise me. To say in front of everyone, Wei Chong, you have done well this time. In the future, everyone must look up to Wei Chong. Wei Chang's eyes shone brightly. His Honor, don't praise me too much, just average will do. Come, His Honor. Yi Hua took a deep breath and shouted out gravely. Attention! The subordinates of the 7 deadly sins. At ease. Look to the right. Look to the front. At ease, I will say a few words. Everyone, however, before Yi Hua could even start speaking, Kai Yun suddenly ran over. His Honor, quickly come and take a look, there are a lot more people in Wuxia Empire. Yi Hua went into a daze. He walked over to Kai Yun's side and looked at the entire Wuxia Empire. From what I remember, the streets of Wuxia Empire have never been packed with people. But now every single street is packed with people. And those people are quite strong. I can even see the people inside the spirit beasts. What situation is this? Yi Hua asked gravely. At this moment, Luo Ho, who rushed over, said respectfully, His Honor, just a while ago, a lot of people suddenly appeared. They claimed to be people from the 9 provinces and 5 seas. Hearing those words, Yi Hua immediately understood. It should be Meng Yao after all, only she knows about Wuxia Empire. With Meng Yao's personality, she would definitely choose to save people. Where is Meng Yao? Yi Hua asked. Luo Ho took a look at Kai Yun. Kai Yun did not say anything, and this caused Yi Hua to slightly frown. I'm asking you. Yi Hua's tone couldn't help but become a lot heavier, and a bad premonition could be felt in his heart. Kai Yun said respectfully, Your Honor, within the crowd, there is a woman who calls herself Meng Li. She said that Meng Yao has already. Call that person over. I want to ask him personally. Yi Hua said gravely. No matter what, Meng Yao can be counted as half of Yi Hua's sister-in-law. Although Meng Yao's relationship with Yi Hua has already been blown up, I, the Supreme Overlord, am still able to see that Meng Yao actually still likes Yi Hua. Furthermore, with Meng Yao's strength, she could have easily dodged the attack. How could she have possibly died? Even I wouldn't believe such a thing. Yes, Your Honor. Luo Ho immediately went to call Meng Li. Yi Hua looked at the black mass of people, and his expression was very grave. Originally, he should have been happy about this matter, but along with this piece of news, his mood became incomparably depressed. The 7 subordinates could also sense His Honor's displeasure. Those who didn't understand the twists and turns of the matter were very curious, and those who understood were able to understand. After all, she could be considered as His Honor's sister-in-law. Not long after, Luo Ho brought the pale Meng Li over. Yi Hua looked at Meng Li, and Meng Li was also sizing up Yi Hua. This person in front of me is the big brother emperor that Meng Yao talked about? From the looks of it, his bearing is indeed extraordinary, and his little brother is also not far off from him. No wonder Meng Yao would be concerned about him. It isn't without reason. Furthermore, since he has appeared, that palace master should have already died. He is truly very powerful. Where's Meng Yao? Yi Hua asked coldly. Meng Li's expression immediately became sorrowful when Yi Hua mentioned Meng Yao. Meng Yao stayed behind and sent me over. Why did she stay behind? Why didn't she leave? Yi Hua asked gravely. Meng Yao wanted to protect her people. That's why she stayed behind. Meng Li said with a sorrowful look on her face. Encountering this kind of thing, Meng Li had no other choice. Yi Hua sensed for a bit. Right now, I am completely unable to sense the existence of the 9 provinces and 5 seas. The entire space has already collapsed. Meng Yao died. How am I going to explain this to my little brother? When my little brother asks about this, Yi Hua let out a breath. Your Honor, how are we going to settle these people? Luo Ho asked in a low voice. Yi Hua said faintly, settle them however you want. Yes. Luo Ho accepted the order and left. Yi Hua took a deep breath. Tomorrow morning is a routine meeting. I do not want to see anyone late. Yes. All of Luo Ho's subordinates shouted out. Meng Li looked at the 7 people behind Yi Hua, and her expression didn't look very good. Because the feeling that these 7 people are giving me is very terrifying, as if they are able to pinch me to death with a single hand. Yi Hua rubbed his forehead and walked to Dong Huang Baiji's side. What's wrong? Weren't you very happy just now? Dong Huang Baiji asked confusedly as she pressed onto Yi Hua's temples with her hands. Yi Hua said faintly, Meng Yao died. Meng Yao died. How is that possible? With her strength, she shouldn't be able to do that, if she wanted to run away. Dong Huang Baiji was confused. Sigh, Meng Yao is still so kind. No matter what her identity is, she is still the same. Yi Hua said faintly. Dong Huang Baiji seemed to be able to hear something from Yi Hua's words. Meng Yao is still that Yi. Just that if little Tian were to find out about this matter, he would definitely feel terrible. Yi Hua, how about you go and rest for a bit? Dong Huang Baiji said tenderly. Go and sleep for a bit. Think about what we should do in the future. Yi Hua suddenly felt a bit tired. This kind of fatigue was indeed caused by Meng Yao's death. After all, by Yi Hua's side, there was no one who died. As long as I wanted to stay, I would definitely be able to stay. Not even the Heavenly Emperor would be able to bring them away. However, what about Meng Yao? There was simply nothing that could be done. The space had already collapsed, and even Yi Hua was unable to do anything about it. Dong Huang Baiji let out a light sigh. Originally, I thought that Yi Hua would be happy today. After all, I killed a palace master and even gathered all of my subordinates. Such an important day, what a pity. Dong Huang Baiji decided to go and cook a meal to comfort Yi Hua. I don't know how I am going to explain this to my little brother. After Yi Hua left, the 7 subordinates loosened up. After all, in front of his honor, the 7 subordinates were still very cautious and did not dare to say anything excessive. Especially now that his honor was in a bad mood. If they were to say anything excessive, they would be scolded by his honor. I think it is better for me to go back and find my wives. Bye-bye everyone. Lai Gu still missed his wives a lot. Other than Yu Hua, there are still 3 of them, you know? Zhu Tian said, those 3 wives of yours went out to train. Chapter 1259. Training. Lai Gu was puzzled. Those 3 women went to train? What is training? Brett added, they wanted to cure your poison, so they chose to go train. Isn't it just training? Where did they go? Lai Gu had an indifferent look on his face. No wonder they didn't appear during this period of time. It was always Yu Hua who came over to chat with me. That place is filled with prehistoric beasts. Lai Gu originally had an indifferent look on his face, but after hearing what Zhu Tian said, he immediately froze. I naturally know that place, it doesn't matter if I go there, but if they go there, it will be very dangerous. Prehistoric beasts are also divided into different levels. Some of the rare prehistoric beasts are very ferocious. If one is not careful, one will die. Brett said faintly, a lot of people went there, Tang Wei went there too. Just as Wei Chong was about to leave to find Tang Wei, he immediately stopped his footsteps, then looked towards Brett and asked gravely, you said that Tang Wei went there too? That's right, Green and Red brothers, Li Hun, Sun Fong and the others all went there. And of course, his honor's younger brother went there too. Brett said in a low voice. Wei Chong immediately wanted to teleport over to take a look at Tang Wei, but Zhu Tian immediately stopped him. His honor said that no one is allowed to go and help, but you don't have to worry. I have been watching their every move. Although they look a bit battered right now, they won't die. Zhu Tian hurriedly persuaded. Wei Chong didn't go over forcefully, because this was Yi Hua's order, and Wei Chong didn't dare to disobey. Meanwhile, Dou Fusher, who was not far away, was already stupefied. My wife actually went there. Why is this happening? Luckily, Great God Zhu Tian said that they are fine, that's good enough. What everyone doesn't know is that Zhu Tian had only described it briefly, and in actuality, it wasn't battered, it was miserable. At this very moment, inside a dark cave, no one dared to light up the cave, fearing that they would attract prehistoric beasts. This group of people naturally came here to train, to be more precise, they came here to seek death. Although they were still alive, all of them had severe injuries on their bodies, especially Yi Juetian. A scar had appeared on that handsome face of his, and the scar extended from his left forehead all the way to his lower jaw. This appearance of Yi Juetian made people feel that he wasn't that sissy anymore, and instead, he had a bit of iron-blooded manliness. The scars on a man's body were still very sexy. Apart from the scar on his face, Yi Juetian couldn't even raise his left arm. Blood flowed continuously, and he was currently circulating his energy to treat his injuries. The others were about the same. The group of people had been here for many days, but the total time they had spent here was definitely less than 10 hours. As soon as he arrived in this world, he actually landed on the head of a primordial beast. In ordinary planes, the great desolate beasts would usually appear one by one. However, Yi Juetian finally knew that the great desolate beasts here were all in groups. They wouldn't let people live at all. Everyone only thought about one thing every day, and that was how to survive. Tang Wei, are you all right? Wandering Soul asked in concern when he saw Tang Wei clutching her stomach. Tang Wei shook her head. I'm fine. Is the injury on your back healed? Almost done. Tang Wei lightly sighed. This place was indeed very scary. Everyone had searched for a long time before they found such a safe cave. At this moment, Yi Juetian said gravely, Brothers, we don't have a lot of medicine left, we have to use it sparingly from now on. Without any major injuries, we can't use medicine. At this moment, LV Liang muttered, If I knew that it would be like this, I would have brought more medicine over. Yi Hong let out a long breath. Big brother, the medicine will be used up one day. We are here to gain experience. If there is no life and death experience, how can it still be called experience? Yo, I didn't expect that you would become a lot calmer. Yi Hong said in a low voice, Time can change a person. Don't pretend to be deep. Do you think that big brother doesn't know you? LV Liang patted on his little brother's shoulder, and the latter immediately lowered his head. Even this was seen through? Can I, Yi Hong, not be able to get rid of my comical nature? Be quiet. Don't attract the ferocious beasts over. The green and red brothers nodded their heads and did not speak anymore. The ferocious beasts in this place are too peculiar. You would never have thought that a blood-sucking mosquito might be a ferocious beast. The ant beneath your feet might also be a ferocious beast. Also, all of the bamboos in the bamboo forest might not be a ferocious beast. If someone with trypophobia were to see those bamboos, their face would become deathly pale from fright. Therefore, the group of people had to pay attention to a lot of things. How is it? Tang Wei asked concernedly. Did not have any strength previously, but Ju Tian was not at ease, so he gave her a bit of strength. At the very least, she would be able to protect herself. Dongfang Yue was the weakest, so everyone took care of her. Although she had injuries on her body, it was not a lot, however, this made Dongfang Yue feel uncomfortable. Everyone was working very hard, and I don't need special care. Look at that arm of Yi Juetian's. It was caused by him blocking the ferocious beast's attack for Dongfang Yue. If I don't help her, Dongfang Yue would have died. Yi Juetian didn't want to see anyone leave. Big brother is their boss, and although I am not, I cannot throw big brother's face. Sun Fong didn't speak the entire time, her head was lowered, and she seemed to be thinking about something. In actuality, Yi Juetian's state of mind was uneasy today, and danger signals kept appearing in his head. Yi's appearance and Yi's cries would also appear in his head. If it was possible, Yi Juetian really wanted to see Yi. Perhaps, this is the motivation for me to continue living. Just when everyone was resting, armored bugs suddenly emerged from the depths of the damp cave. These bugs were just like bugs in feces, causing people to feel very uncomfortable. However, the problem was that these bugs were not moving alone, and were moving in groups. Furthermore, these armored bugs that were so small were also a type of ferocious beast. In the darkness, everyone didn't seem to have seen the armored bugs. However, in an instant, over 1,000 armored bugs were lying on the top of the karst cave, and below them were Yi Juetian and the others. Perhaps you might think that it is impossible for an ant to do so, but when the number of armored bugs reached a peak, then even an elephant would be pushed over. Don't look down on any opponent. This was the basic principle. Out of over 1,000 armored bugs, there would definitely be a few that were unreliable. For example, this armored bug was unable to endure it any longer and thus took a dump. It just so happened to land on the back of Yihong's hand, and Yihong could clearly feel that an unknown liquid had landed on the back of Yihong's hand. If it was in the past, I can completely ignore it, but where is this place? I have to pay attention to every single detail. Yihong sniffed the unknown liquid that was on the back of Yihong's hand, and the smell that was on the back of Yihong's hand was a bit abnormal. Chapter 1260. Big Brother, there seems to be something above us. Yihong said in a low voice. Everyone became vigilant, and even their heartbeats became much faster. Following Yihong's words, everyone became serious, and they didn't even dare to raise their heads. Everyone was using sound transmissions to talk to each other. Run! Yihong said gravely. Other than running, there doesn't seem to be any other way out. Yi Juetian took a glance upwards and immediately saw densely packed bugs. These bugs actually know how to conceal their aura, and they don't even know that they are above us. That densely packed made people feel disgusted, and if it was someone with trypophobia who saw this scene, they would definitely feel very uncomfortable and might even vomit. Especially the women at the scene. When they saw this scene, their entire bodies felt cold. In this plane, the big prehistoric ferocious beasts might not be that scary, but the most scary ones were the small ones. Because there were a lot of small ones, there were a few times more than the big ones. Just like right now, every single one of them was a prehistoric ferocious beast. If they were to attack, the consequences would be hard to imagine. I originally thought that this karst cave would be very safe, but it turns out that it was all an illusion. Looking at the dark night outside, Yi Juetian knew that both sides were very dangerous, and the outside at night was even scarier. However, right now, there was only one choice. And that was to run. Yi Juetian told everyone, 3 seconds from the countdown. Run out without any regard for your life, and don't ever turn back. Everyone knew that facing so many prehistoric ferocious beasts, they could only run. There was no chance of winning at all. Following Yi Juetian's countdown, everyone burst out with an unprecedented strength and ran with all their might. However, the thousands of bugs seemed to be letting out low roars, and their delicious prey actually ran away. In the dark night, they were just like a group of locusts, letting out buzzing sounds as they chased after one another under the moonlight. Luckily, everyone's speed was not slow, and the distance between them was gradually increasing. Finally, everyone let out a sigh of relief. They seemed to have stopped chasing. When Xia said in a low voice as she tightly wrinkled her brows. Everyone did not feel happy just because the bugs stopped chasing. On the contrary, their expressions became even more grave. The reason why they stopped chasing was because they came to someone else's territory, and even they did not dare to provoke them. Everyone be careful! Yi Juetian shouted out gravely. Right now, Yi Juetian had the aura of a leader, and under this kind of tempering, there was still an effect. Everyone slightly increased their flying altitude, but they didn't dare to fly too high, because there was a possibility that there were prehistoric ferocious beasts in the clouds. In this place, there was nothing that you could not think of. There was a possibility that even those unremarkable rocks on the roadside could be prehistoric ferocious beasts. However, there were very few great desolate divine beasts here. Everyone wanted to find a place where great desolate divine beasts resided. Only then would they be slightly safer. At least he could sleep well at night. Just when everyone felt a little safer, a terrifying aura came from below. Only to see a bright red unknown object attack. Its speed was so fast that it left people speechless, directly entangling Dong Fengyuer's delicate body. His reaction was still the fastest, and he directly pulled Dong Fengyuer's hand. Yi Juetian immediately drew his saber and slashed towards the unknown object with a powerful saber chi. However, it did not break and only left behind a thin gash. A howl sounded out from below, as if it was in great pain, and it let go of Dong Fengyuer. This is a tongue! LV Liang exclaimed as he saw the mucus on the tongue. Yihong lowered her head to take a look. There seemed to be something jumping below. It looked like a stone, and there were a lot of them. There were at least 100 of them. After a few breaths of time, everything stopped moving. However, their heads faced the crowd and opened their bloody mouths. Run! Yi Juetian did not even think and immediately shouted. These were most likely iron demon frogs. In the book that Big Brother gave him, it was recorded that the tongues of these terrifying great desolate beasts were extremely powerful.
From what he saw just now, it could be seen that his weapon could only leave a shallow wound on their tongues.
Their tongues were their strongest weapons. They could be long or short, and they could even spin 360 degrees without any blind spots. That kind of terror was unimaginable. He even noted that if he met these monsters, he could only run and not think about anything else. Over 100 red tongues attacked towards the sky, as if they were missiles, bringing with them a terrifying aura. Everyone took out their weapons and dodged the sticky tongues.
At the tip of the tongues, there was an extremely sticky liquid, and as long as one came into contact with it, they would probably have to cut off their tongues to escape.
Just now, Dongfang Yuaner was only let go. To everyone, the tongues that were rising in a straight line were very easy to dodge. However, everyone miscalculated. Right after they dodged, the tongues actually turned around and floated away. Furthermore, the trajectory of the tongues this time was very hard to fathom. After all, there were over 100 tongues, and even their escape routes were all sealed off.
Kill!
Yi Juetian shouted out angrily. There was no other way, they could only kill. It wasn't that everyone had never encountered this kind of situation before, and they were basically surrounded and attacked every single time. However, this time, it seemed like it was a bit troublesome. The tongues were too powerful. When everyone's weapons slashed onto the tongues, sparks were even emitted out. When everyone's weapons slashed onto the weak points of the tongues, they only managed to leave behind a slight wound, and this only angered these great desolate beasts. Everyone was indescribably shocked. Are these great desolate beasts or not? How can there be such monsters?
Ah!
Yi Juetian suddenly cried out miserably. His entire body was trapped by 3 tongues, and he was unable to move at all. Following that, Yi Juetian's line of defense failed, and Wen Xia and Bai Xiaozhen were also entangled in battle. With 3 less lines of defense, the entire team was facing a huge danger. Yi Juetian used all of his strength to break through, but it was still useless. The green and red brothers wanted to go and save Bai Xiaozhen, but there were over 10 tongues that were currently tightening around them. Everyone fell into an incomparably difficult situation. After going through so many near-death experiences, we still ended up failing today. These damnable tongues, to think that they are actually this stubborn. If I had known earlier, I would have fought with those bugs just now, and maybe I would have been able to find an opportunity to kill them. How are we supposed to break through these tongues? Li Hun shouted out.
Everyone knew that all of the great desolate beasts had a weakness, and as long as we find the weakness and kill the great desolate beasts with a single move, everything would be fine. However, there was still a need for a process. After all, how could it be that easy to find the weakness of the great desolate beasts? The long sword in Sun Fang's hand transformed into a few sword qi, but the sword qi was only able to slightly slow down the speed of the tongues, and was unable to harm the tongues at all. In actuality, this region was a no-fly zone, but just now we were running for our lives. Who would have the time to care about anything else? As long as we are able to fly in the sky, we would be able to slowly torture these great desolate beasts.
Every single great desolate beasts had their own strengths and weaknesses.
For example, what about close combat? The space that these tongues had to move around in would be greatly reduced, and if we were to move around in a more coquettish manner, we would be able to make them entangle with each other.
Chapter 1261. Here, not only did one have to rely on strength, they also had to rely on their brains. However, no one had the time to think about this problem. They were given too little time. A minute later, all of them were entangled, causing them to feel despair.
Big brother!
Yi Hong shouted out while looking at her big brother LV Tao, who was at the side. LV Liang felt a bit guilty. Xiaofan, big brother is useless. I've let down my sister-in-law. Don't say any more, big brother. This is my own decision. Being able to die together with big brother is already worth it. Just that, I didn't get the chance to apologize to Zishan. Yi Hong sighed softly.
She knew that there was no hope of escaping in this situation.
These toads were simply too abnormal. They were no match for them in the air. Tang Wei, Li Hun, Sun Fang, Still Yi and the others were all thinking about their own men. The first 3 either betrayed and kidnapped, and the one with broken bones directly turned into a gigantic dragon. However, they still chose to come over. Their courage was commendable. Yi Juetian was also wrapped around fiercely, unable to move.
His gaze carried a hint of a distorted expression, as if he was unwilling to die just like that.
However, just as Yi Juetian was struggling, The power in his body was gradually fading away. Yi Juetian turned pale with fright.
These prehistoric ferocious beasts are actually able to absorb the power of their prey, causing their prey to be unable to struggle or resist. Everyone felt their strength gradually draining away, and their bodies became limp. However, their minds were still clear, and they knew that they were doomed. Right now, Yi Juetian didn't have any other choice, and the first thing that appeared in his mind was his mother. I can't be filial to my mother anymore, and there's still Big Brother. In the future, I'll have to rely on Big Brother to take care of my mother.
Yi's figure also appeared.
If it's possible, I really want to say, I'm sorry in front of Yi.
Finally, there was Gongyu. This woman had sacrificed too much for him. It was his responsibility to take care of her. However, from the looks of it now, I'm afraid that I won't be able to take care of Gongyu in the future. I can only rely on Big Brother to take good care of Gongyu in the future. Big Brother shouldn't make things too difficult for Gongyu. After all, Gongyu is also my woman, and I'm already dead. Looking at this, Big Brother won't be too excessive. At this moment, everyone was thinking about the person in their hearts. Only before death could they understand who the most important person in their hearts was, and what they regretted not doing. All of them. Meanwhile, Absolute Heaven, who had come down to monitor the situation, was currently quarreling with the pig liver hyena. The two of them quarreled almost every day. They were like two women. The whole palace was their battlefield. They were like shrews. However, just as everyone was waiting for death to descend, a terrifying aura attacked. It was a crescent-shaped silver saber chi. With this slash, hundreds of tongues were all severed.
Everyone could feel that the prehistoric ferocious beasts below were letting out howls of grief, and with fear in their hearts, they ran away. The tongue on his body gradually loosened.
What happened? Yihong asked blankly. I'm already prepared to die, yet you are telling me that I actually won't be able to die. This kind of feeling is truly hard to accept. It seems like someone saved us.
Tang Wei muttered, thinking in her heart, could it be Wei Chong?
Is it really him?
It can't be his honor, right?
LV Liang asked curiously.
Other than his honor, who else could it be?
Yi Juetian felt that his big brother had come to save him. A black figure suddenly appeared in front of everyone. When the group of people saw this black figure, their eyes were filled with doubt. What was this? Who?
If it was his honor or anyone else, is there a need for them to act like this?
It was obviously not needed. In that case, it must be someone else. Senior, you are? Yi Juetian asked respectfully.
To be able to get rid of those tongues in an instant, that person's strength was definitely above theirs, and furthermore, that person had even saved us.
The black figure took off his mask and revealed an exquisite face. Although he wasn't very handsome, the feeling that he gave others was rather reliable, and seemed to be trustworthy. Me? Who am I? I don't know either. The black figure said lightly, and a confused look could be seen on his face. Don't know who I am? Yi Juetian and the others were filled with question marks.
Big Brother had said before that in this plane, other than prehistoric ferocious beasts or divine beasts, there were basically no other living beings. For a person to suddenly appear in this plane, how could they not be shocked?
You don't know what your name is? Tang Wei asked puzzledly.
The black figure said faintly, although I don't know what my name is, you all can call me Guardian.
Guardian? Everyone's jaws were about to drop onto the ground.
Because recently, Yi Zizi had also brought back a guardian, and the guardian was called Ran Yao. However, this was also a guardian, so how could everyone not exclaim in admiration?
You are a guardian?
Yi Juetian asked in shock.
Yes.
The male said faintly.
Then, do you know Ran Yao?
Sun Feng asked.
Ran Yao? I don't know him. Is he also a guardian?
The male asked curiously. Li Hun nodded his head. Yes, he is also a guardian, and his name is Ran Yao.
That's great. Can I meet him?
The male seemed to have a goal, and his tone was filled with urgency.
Everyone looked at one another. What's wrong? Is there anything inconvenient about it? I saved your lives just now as well.
Seems like this guardian wasn't an idiot, and he knew that saving someone's life was very important.
However, he only said it subconsciously.
Yi Juetian said helplessly, we are currently training, and we can't go back right now, so, if you want to go back with us, you can wait until we finish our training.
Training in this kind of place? Everyone felt what this guardian meant. He wanted to say that this place is too weak, and there is nothing to train in. To the guardian, this place was indeed weak, and this place was just like bullying little kids in a kindergarten. However, to Yi Juetian and the others, this place wasn't a kindergarten, this place was hell mode, and just now they almost died. Yes, Yi Juetian said awkwardly. Forget it, I will wait for you all then, in case you all die again. Everyone, Yi Juetian said respectfully. That guardian, we are currently training if it is possible, unless it is a crucial moment, do not take action to help us, it is not good for our training. I understand, just now, perhaps you all had your own methods, I did an unnecessary move. Everyone. What methods did I have just now? I don't have any methods at all. However, these words, everyone only thought about it in their hearts. How shameful would it be to say it out loud? However, everyone was also puzzled. Why do I feel that this guardian is so strong? That Ran Yao doesn't seem to be this strong. Ran Yao only stomped the guardian's strength into a fried egg. If he were to absorb that strength, he would also be this strong. Chapter 1262. Let's have a good rest here tonight. Yi Juetian said. These monsters had all been scared off by the protectors, so this place should be very safe. With a great god by his side, things were pretty stable indeed. Everyone nodded their heads. Right now, there was still a bit of lingering fear in their hearts. Looking at the black-clothed guardian beside them, everyone felt that this plane was slightly safer. However, in Voidless Empire, no one knew that these people had just met with a life-and-death situation. However, the area outside the Imperial Palace was also bustling with noise and excitement. The people from the 9 prefectures and 5 seas had all teleported over, causing the place to be overcrowded. The streets were filled with people. Right now, Yi Hua was currently listening to Kai Yun's report. After all, Kai Yun was in charge of the city's security. Are you saying that those nobles from the 9 provinces and 5 seas are bullying people? Yi Hua asked faintly, while Dong Huang Baiji, who was beside Yi Hua, was currently peeling grapes for him. Kai Yun said respectfully, although it hasn't reached the level of bullying people now, among those people, they look down on the original residents. Adding on the disparity in strength, this is even more so. Subordinate feels that if this kind of thing were to continue for a long time, I'm afraid. I didn't pursue these people because I was giving Meng Yao face, but they still want a foot after giving me an inch. Truly hateful. Yi Hua said coldly. What I hate the most is this kind of people who think that they are infallible. You've only been here for a day, and you're already using your identity to pressure me. Don't you know? Who was in charge here? Who are you? To put it bluntly, they were refugees. There are also some aristocrats of the 9 prefectures and 5 seas who don't obey the arrangements and use their wealth to buy high-end residences. Yi Hua went into a daze. There's really nothing that can be done about this. With money, one can indeed do whatever one wants. Dong Huang Baiji rolled her eyes. Yi Hua, you have to pay attention to this matter. If this continues for a long period of time, it will definitely not be good. The natives will definitely have complaints. Dong Huang Baiji reminded. Yi Hua thought for a moment, then said faintly, Kai Yun, bring some people to go and suppress them. Capture those who are disobedient and behead them. With that, they will naturally not dare to be impudent anymore. Dong Huang Baiji really wanted to poke Yi Hua's forehead, but since Kai Yun is here, forget it. Yi Hua, using killing to suppress is the worst choice. Yi Hua said indifferently, I feel that it's pretty good. Last time, after I killed a few people who opposed me, all of them became well-behaved. Yi Hua, those are the ones who wanted to rebel against you, and their sins are naturally big. However, these are not. You just need to punish them slightly and it will be fine. Yi Hua laughed lightly. Baiji, you are still too young. Even if they don't exist now, it doesn't mean that they won't exist in the future. If we don't suppress them as soon as possible, they wouldn't know how to be grateful. Your honor is right. These people are extremely arrogant, and sooner or later, they will want to stir up trouble. Your honor's actions are very appropriate, Kai Yun said respectfully. Yi Hua didn't care about Dong Huang Baiji's opinion and said to Kai Yun, go and do it. Make the scene a bit bigger and let them know that I, the Supreme Overlord, am not someone to be trifled with. Since they are in my territory, they have to listen to me. If they don't listen to me, they can just scram. Yes, Your Honor. After receiving the order, Kai Yun immediately went to look for Yi Zizi. Things are going to be fun soon. When Kai Yun received Luo Ho's application, he took a look.
The ones who were arrogant were the aristocrats, at least 10% of them.
The others were still relatively obedient.
Of course, it wasn't all the nobles, but Kai Yun felt that there were at least 1,000 or more who were very mischievous. Capture them and behead them. After Kai Yun left, Dong Huang Baiji sighed and said, Yihua, actually, there are other ways to solve this problem.
Yihua said faintly, this is the most direct way. Kai Yun can save a lot of trouble.
You women, your hair is long, but your knowledge is short.
Humph. Don't go to bed tonight then.
That isn't up to you to decide.
Yihua snorted coldly, angering Dong Huang Baiji to the point that she directly went to sleep. Meanwhile, Yihua didn't go to sleep. Right now, he was thinking about the general meeting that he would be having tomorrow morning. This was also the first general meeting that he would be having. Therefore, I have to properly think about the future plans.
No, there are still some people who are still training, and it still can't be considered as a general meeting.
Forget it then, I will just casually say a few words tomorrow morning and go to sleep.
At this moment, inside a luxurious tavern, a few people were sitting at a table and chatting about something. At the side of the table, there were some people who were very powerful.
Among the people who were sitting at the table, there was also Meng Li.
Other than Meng Li, who was a woman, the others were all men. Looking at their arrogant expressions, one could tell that they were the kind of people who had power and influence in the 9 provinces and 5 seas.
Back then, when Meng Yao contacted others, she asked them to come to Voidless Empire.
Therefore, other than the people on Meng Yao's side, there were other places as well. The place that exalted goddess Meng Yao recommended is indeed not bad.
Look at the environment here. It's several times better than the previous one. The one who spoke was surnamed Lu.
The Lu family's influence in Ding province was extraordinary. But Lu Xia realized that this place was better than any city in Ding province.
I have a suggestion.
How about we develop this place into our own capital?
The one who spoke was called Long Yi. His looks were not good, but he was very greedy. He was also a member of the Long family, but Long Chu had died.
Right now, only he had the greatest authority, and naturally, he would be able to become the patriarch of the Long family. However, previously, Long Yi was only a small elder, but the others were all dead. There was only Long Yi in the group of elders, so it was only natural.
Long family head. This is a good idea.
We can call ourselves kings here.
Lu Xia was the first to agree with the proposal. After saying that, Lu Xia and Long Yi looked at Meng Li. After all, Meng Li's strength was needed. Meng Li, what do you think of our suggestion? Asked Under Lu in a low voice.
Meng Li came back to her senses. What did you two say just now?
Meng Li, what I mean is, let us join hands and take down this city.
Long Yi said indifferently, as if taking down Wuxia Empire was an easy thing to do.
What? You two want to take down this place? Meng Li's expression immediately changed. What kind of place is this?
It's that emperor's territory, and that emperor even won against the palace master.
But these fellows, they don't even know. That's right. Long Yi said resolutely.
A trace of bloodthirst could be seen in his eyes. This is the first time I'm going to attack since I became the family head, so it's definitely going to be extraordinary.
Meng Li said coldly. Are you too crazy? Do you know where this place is?
Do you know how the 9 provinces and 5 seas disappeared?
Do you know who defeated the palace master?
Lu Xia said indifferently. Meng Li, we know what you want to say, but those are all rumors.
Who knows who defeated who?
Could it be that you saw it with your own eyes?
Looks like you two are crazy. To actually have ideas on Wuxia Empire, let me tell you.
It was the emperor of this place who defeated the palace master.
Meng Li shouted out gravely. Right now, they finally have a place to stay, and they actually want to monopolize it. They are simply bastards. Chapter 1263. Meng Li shouldn't have let them come here. It was simply a waste.
Meng Li, don't make it sound so serious. I, Long Yi, don't believe in rumors. I only believe in my eyes. The people here are all very weak. I can settle them all in a few minutes.
Meng Li, Just tell me, do you want to join? Long Yi asked softly. There was a bit of threat in his tone. Even Wuxia revealed a threatening gaze.
Meng Li snorted. It's impossible for me to join.
However, just as Meng Li was about to reject, the people standing behind Wuxia and Long Yi stopped Meng Li. It seemed like she had no choice but to agree. Meng Li, we are after all outsiders, we don't know how long we can live here. What if we get bullied? That's why we should unite now. This is the wisest decision. Lu Chen said softly. This kind of consideration was still reasonable. However, Meng Li wouldn't do that. That was the emperor. The emperor who won against the palace master. Do you think that I am some newbie? Those who walk different paths cannot make plans together. Goodbye. Meng Li turned around, and a man behind her stopped her with a cold gaze.
Long Yi stood up and asked coldly, Meng Li, do you want to go and inform on the emperor?
So what if I am? Meng Li shouted coldly. She wasn't afraid at all. If that's the case, then please stay. Long Yi's words carried a deep disdain, and of course, a threatening intent. However, right at this moment, the door was suddenly pushed open. Two big sisters appeared.
However, behind them, there were some people lying on the ground. These people were Wuxia and Long Yi's subordinates.
Who are you? Lu Chen shouted.
Meng Li had naturally seen all of them before. These two people were the emperor's subordinates. Their strength was unknown. However, what was certain was that they should be very, very strong.
I heard that you guys are gathering people to rebel. Kai Yun said with a slight smile.
Yi Zizi sucked on her lollipop and looked at them with a playful expression. Long Yi laughed lightly. How could there be such a thing? You must have gotten it wrong.
Kai Yun, how could I get it wrong? Meng Li, don't you think so? Kai Yun looked towards Meng Yao.
Although Meng Yao and Meng Li are related, and Meng Yao even saved Meng Li. If they violated the principle, it would be useless.
Even if the Heavenly King were to plead for leniency, it would be useless.
Shielding people who are rebelling is not far away from the death penalty. However, Meng Li didn't know that what she said would affect how far she could go in life. To the two of them, they were from the same hometown. However, these two fellows were a little bad. No matter what, they were still fellow villagers.
Yes, Meng Li said seriously.
Although they were from the same hometown, these two people from the same hometown had already wanted to kill her. Therefore, she didn't want these people from the same hometown.
Long Yi and Wuxia immediately looked at Meng Li with killing intent.
Yi Zizi said lightly, since you have this idea, then you must know the consequences of having this idea.
Lower Lu, you kill that one. I'll kill this one with a ponytail.
Long Yi shouted coldly.
All right. Killing you is as easy as killing chickens. The sixth move of the Lu family swordplay. Natural Great Path.
Dragon raising its head.
Long Yi roared. The twos might instantly envelop the entire voidless empire, and everyone could feel their auras. To actually dare to cause trouble in voidless empire, they must have grown the guts of a male leopard. Yi Zizi and Kai Yun looked on, while Meng Li was very nervous. You two, go and make a move. Don't just stand there and not move.
Yi Zizi sucked on her lollipop and said, You called me out for such a boring thing, I might as well go and sleep.
Boring? Don't you find it fun? I just feel that it is fun.
Fun my ass, I'm going back.
Yi Zizi held back her words, then disappeared from where she was. Meng Li didn't even know what to say anymore. Kai Yun looked at the two people in front of him while panting with rage. You two are simply too trashy. I originally wanted to make my bestie happy, but in the end, you two are useless. An even more terrifying might was released out from Kai Yun's body. Both Wuxia and Long Yi felt as if there was a small mountain pressing down on their backs.
They were originally still charging in the sky, but now, they were immediately pressed down, and their eyeballs were about to pop out.
Just who are you? Wuxia found it hard to believe. This girl actually defeated me with her aura. How is this possible? Even if it was her aura, that was only aimed at me alone. Yet, she was actually able to disperse her aura, and even Long Yi was suppressed. This little girl. Isn't she too terrifying? Long Yi was also incomparably shocked in his heart. Is she still a human? This little girl is most likely even more powerful than the family head. Kai Yun said faintly, You all still don't have the qualifications to know, but you all are going to die soon. Men, bring her away. Yes.
Flag Master. Luo Ho brought the yellow armored warrior and walked in, then brought everyone out. Only after Long Yi and Wuxia walked out did they discover that all of their people were captured, and the entire street was filled with people kneeling down. Family head, save us. Family head, they said that they want to kill us. Family head, quickly come and save us. Everyone started asking Wuxia and Long Yi for help, but what was the use? The two of them were already captured. There were still a lot of people who were watching the show in the surroundings, and of course there were also people from the 9 provinces and 5 seas that were carrying puzzlement. It's only the first day that I came here, why did such a thing happen?
Isn't that Wuxia and Long Yi? Why did they get captured?
Thinking back to what the two of them did before, everyone seemed to be able to understand. This kind of person's way of thinking is too crazy. The emperor here definitely wouldn't allow it. But then again, is the emperor here really that powerful? Exterminating the palace master?
Meng Li followed behind Kai Yun.
Luckily, I didn't act recklessly just now. If not, the one who would be kneeling down would be me. Just how strong is this little girl in front of me? Even Meng Li doesn't know right now. There were more and more people who were watching the show in the surroundings, and all of them were whispering to each other and pointing at each other.
Kai Yun coughed lightly, and the scene immediately became quiet. These people. They are trying to rebel.
The great emperor gave them food and lodging, yet they actually don't have a heart of gratitude, and even have wild ambitions.
This kind of crime is unforgivable. Kai Yun shouted out coldly.
Right now, Kai Yun felt that he was very imposing. This is what a flagmaster should have.
Execution ground.
Suddenly, someone shouted out from within the crowd. Following this shout, everyone began shouting out.
Execution ground. Execution ground. Execution ground.
Seems like these natives really don't like them. They are going too far.
Wuxia and Long Yi took a look at each other. What kind of place is this execution ground?
Execution ground is the place where Yi Hua killed people last time. And normally, only those who have committed serious crimes would go there.
In actuality, Kai Yun was thinking the same way too.
Since His Honor said that we want to have a big scene, we can only do it at the execution ground. Kai Yun waved his hand, and the scene once again became quiet.
Chapter 1264.
This kind of sin is unforgivable, therefore, I grant you all death.
Bring all of you to the execution ground. Kai Yun shouted coldly.
Following Kai Yun's words, everyone started shouting. These people bullied us too much during the day, and now they still want to rebel. They are too daring.
You can't kill us.
We are the people of the 9 provinces and 5 seas. You humans from a lower plane of existence are so vicious. You are simply the behavior of barbarians.
Family head, save me.
I don't want to die. Everyone's power was sealed, and they were no different from ordinary people. They were completely unable to struggle free from the yellow armored warrior's restraints.
Luo Ho, come over for a moment. I need you to go and arrange the guillotine.
Kai Yun waved his hand and called Luo Ho over, then whispered into his ears.
All right, subordinate will go and do it right away.
Luo Ho went to do the task with an excited look on his face. Those who didn't know might even think that he went to find his wife.
Kai Yun took a deep breath.
I should have achieved His Honor's expectations.
That.
What do you plan to do?
Meng Li asked weakly.
Behead them one by one.
Kai Yun said coldly.
To actually have the thought of monopolizing Wuxia Empire. They are simply too evil. His Honor took them in out of kindness, yet they are all ingrates. I really feel sorry for His Honor. After Kai Yun finished speaking, he left, leaving behind Meng Li who had a stiff face. This Wuxia Empire doesn't seem to be an ordinary empire. In the 9 provinces and 5 seas, there were no wars, and at most there would only be small fights. The number of deaths was also not very high. At most, there would only be a few hundred casualties. Thousands or even tens of thousands of casualties were very rare, and battles like this were even described as big wars by them.
Meng Li was stunned for a long time, then hurriedly chased after Kai Yun. After walking through a few streets, Meng Li saw a huge building. Everyone was walking inside with anger on their faces, and they were cursing at those people who don't know what's good for them.
Meng Li even saw that a lot of people were looking at her weirdly, as if they were looking at an outsider, with a kind of vigilance and alienation.
In the end, Meng Li still walked inside. After entering, Meng Li discovered that this was a place that could seat tens of thousands of people, and there was an empty space in the middle.
On the high platform, there was a seat of honor. Presumably, that seat of honor belonged to the emperor. However, the one who was currently standing on top of it was Kai Yun, so of course he was only standing. Today's execution was a little special.
A flight of stairs had just been added, and there was a platform at the top of the stairs.
At this moment, there was a fat man with a red condom on his head and a silver machete in his hand.
The criminals entered the prison one after another, and they lined up neatly behind the stairs. These people had just escaped from a calamity, but I didn't expect that. There wasn't that kind of situation where one is bound to have good fortune after surviving a great calamity. This was the rhythm where one would definitely die after surviving a great calamity. The viewing platform was already filled with people.
There were people from the 9 provinces and 5 seas, and there were also people from the local area. The air was pervaded with the smell of blood.
This place.
Back then, over 10,000 people had been killed. That kind of smell of blood would not dissipate even after a few years. Even the sound of thunder resounded in the sky, adding a terrifying color to the oppressive atmosphere.
Some of the criminals had already peed in their pants, and their legs were trembling non-stop. Why did I have to bully others? I am so regretful. If he didn't bully them and got along with them peacefully, how could such a situation happen? That was impossible. At this time, Kai Yun shouted, "Whether it's an original resident or a new resident, it doesn't matter." He had come to Wuxia Empire. You only have one identity. And that is the citizen of Wuxia Empire. There is no 9 provinces and 5 seas, or anything else. All those who want to overthrow His Majesty's rule will be beheaded. His Majesty does not wish to see such a thing happening again. Carry out the execution. Kai Yun shouted out coldly, and a cold intent immediately pervaded the surroundings.
Meng Li saw that Wuxia, who was in high spirits just a moment ago, was being escorted onto the stairs, and right now, Wuxia no longer had a trace of arrogance. His entire person seemed to have aged by tens of years, and his messy hair made people feel that he was very miserable. However, he only had himself to blame. No. Wuxia was regretting right now. If I had known earlier that the people here were so strong, how would I have dared to stir up trouble?
It is precisely because I didn't know that I wanted to stir up trouble. Wuxia was pressed onto the edge of the stairs and knelt down onto the ground, and he lowered his head and looked towards the pit below. Originally, Meng Li was still puzzled about the meaning of digging a pit below the stairs, but right now, she understood that the pit was used to store the head. If it was so savage. Kill! The people in the surroundings started shouting, pushing the atmosphere to its climax. Wuxia's begging for mercy had already been drowned out by the sounds. The executioner drank a mouthful of wine, then sprayed it onto the blade and aimed it at Wuxia's neck. Swish! Wuxia's head accurately fell into the pit, and the headless corpse spurted out a large amount of blood. It was a ghastly sight. The people who were shouting to kill just a moment ago immediately quietened down. Afterward, cheers erupted out. Kai Yun was very satisfied with this situation. Look at these spectators, they are about to become savage people just like me. Haha. Meng Yao felt very uncomfortable when she saw this kind of scene.
In the 9 provinces and 5 seas, this kind of primitive method of solving problems had long been abolished.
Not only Meng Li, the other people in the 9 provinces and 5 seas also felt the same way. This is too cruel, right? Looking at the spectators in the surroundings, they were all shouting and cheering.
This is something that I am unable to understand. This kind of savage method, there are actually people who are clapping and cheering, this is simply subverting my worldview.
Meng Li really couldn't understand. This kind of cruel thing can actually be carried out in such a manner. Even if this is to be carried out, it has to be done secretly. How can it be carried out so openly?
This is truly something that I am unable to understand. The heads fell one after another, and the bones of the corpses were pushed to the side one after another, waiting to be carried away. No matter how awesome one was in the past, after coming to Wuxia Empire, even if one was a dragon, one would still have to coil up. This is not a joke. This is a lesson learned in blood. Kai Yun looked at the beheading just like that. He felt that this program is not bad, and I have to hold it more often in the future. This also caused the people in the city to become obedient, not daring to infuriate this Lord Kai Yun. However, these were all things that happened in the future. At this very moment, The blood on the ground was already showing signs of forming a small pond, and it was a ghastly sight to behold. The headless corpses at the side were like trash that were thrown around messily. Right now, Meng Li really couldn't understand what kind of flaw does this place have, and why would Meng Yao say that this place is good? This place is so savage, and yet, Meng Yao actually said that this place is so good. I completely can't see what's good about this place. What's so good about this place? The smell of blood at the scene was very dense, and it was as if the sky was going to be dyed red, causing people to tremble even though it wasn't cold. When the emperor makes a move, people will definitely die. Chapter 1265. However, compared to the previous time, this time was just child's play. Although there was a change in the technique, the overall atmosphere was still slightly lacking. Therefore, Yihua had to work harder. As time passed, all of the traitors were beheaded, and the ground was practically filled with blood. This truly made people sigh. Kai Yun floated in the sky and said gravely, "This is just a warning, I hope that you all can keep it in mind. Don't forget who gave you all of this. Since you can give it, you can also take it all back. Therefore, I hope that you all understand that living a good life is better than anything else." Right after Kai Yun finished speaking, he disappeared from where he stood, leaving behind a bloody scene. Of course, there were also tens of thousands of people who were astonished. This emperor is truly powerful. It seems like anyone who stands in front of him, he can just kill them with a single move. This kind of aura is truly unstoppable. The crowd gradually left. No one paid attention to the people who died in the pit. In their hearts, those people only had themselves to blame. The emperor had given them enough face, and if they didn't give the emperor face, only an abyss of fear would be waiting for them. The people of the 9 provinces and 5 seas were naturally unable to understand such a method. It was bloody and inhumane. This place was simply like a hell. It had a bright and beautiful appearance, but deep evil was hidden in its heart. Although today's scene wasn't enough to shock the hearts of the people, it wasn't too far off. At the very least, it managed to shock all of the newcomers. After all, those 2 people were brazen. There were also some who were waiting to see what would happen next. However, looking at the current situation, there shouldn't be any hope. Of course, if those people were courting death, they could go and give it a try. Yihua wasn't clear about what happened tonight, but even if he knew, he wouldn't oppose it. After all, sometimes, this kind of suppression was needed to be effective. Other methods would only show that you were weak and powerless. The next morning, Yihua woke up very early. Donghuang Baiji, who was beside him, did not have any reaction. Yihua put on his clothes and walked out of the bedroom by himself without waking up Donghuang Baiji. Yihua did not go and look for his subordinates. Instead, he went to look for Gong Yu, his pregnant sister-in-law. Since this little brother of his is not at home, I should go and take a look at the situation. Meng Yao is gone, and if even Gong Yu is gone, then when this little brother of his returns, it can be imagined. Arriving at Gong Yu's sleeping quarters, Yihua discovered that Gong Yu had woken up very early in the morning and was currently trimming the flowers. Behind her, there were 2 palace maids who were serving upon her. It was hard to tell whether Gong Yu was happy or sad. She seemed a little calm, but this was normal for a pregnant woman who was waiting. "Your Majesty." Gong Yu immediately noticed Yihua's arrival and walked forward and greeted respectfully. Yihua said faintly, "Get up." "Thank you, Your Majesty." Yihua took a look at Gong Yu's stomach, then asked indifferently, "How is the child recently?" Seems like in Yihua's heart, the child is still more important. After all, the child is the bloodline of Yi family. There shouldn't be anything more important than the child. "Your Majesty, the child's condition has been very good during this period of time. There is no need to worry," Gong Yu said softly. It was obvious that she was referring to herself as well. She was the kind of mother who relied on the fact that she had a son. If she didn't have this child, she would probably still be waiting in the dungeon. "It's good that you are fine, lest absolute heaven gets worried," Yihua said in a low voice. On the other hand, Gong Yu was thinking, if I can make absolute heaven worry, I am willing to do anything. Yihua originally wanted to tell Gong Yu about Meng Yao's death, but in the end, he didn't say it. If his younger brother were to return, at least he would know that Meng Yao was still alive and not dead. "Your Majesty, you can be at ease. I will take good care of myself and wait for absolute heaven to return."
Gong Yu lightly rubbed her stomach.
Right now, her stomach was still not big, but the little life inside her stomach was her child, and of course it was also her child with Yi Juetian. Her life suddenly became even more perfect. Yi Hua looked at the slightly raised corner of Gong Yu's mouth, and suddenly felt that. Right now, this woman is already satisfied. This kind of satisfaction doesn't come from power. It is just a simple feeling of satisfaction. I will be leaving first.
Farewell, Your Majesty. Looking at Yi Hua leaving her bedroom, Gong Yu let out a light breath. I was really afraid that this temperamental big brother emperor would punish me. If Yi Hua were to know of this, he would definitely be speechless. When did I become a temperamental person? I am clearly a person who calms down. Towards the meeting that was held in the morning, Yi Hua placed quite a bit of importance on it. Although the number of people in the meeting was not very full, the things that should be said still had to be said. Right now, everything seems to have been settled, and it is time for me to make a detailed plan for the future. Just what am I going to do? It is making me very confused right now.
In the main hall, Yi Hua wasn't wearing the emperor's robe, and he was dressed in a rather ordinary attire as he sat on the throne.
Have all the rebellions that happened yesterday been dealt with? Yi Hua looked at his subordinates and asked faintly.
Today's Yi Hua was rather noteworthy. Even now, there was still a trace of redness on her face.
Looking at Lai Gu, he looks as if he had just lost a battle, and his entire body looked as if he was about to collapse. Meanwhile, Qing Su's expression was filled with a look of success. Seems like I tricked Lai Gu again. Wei Chong and Dou Fusher appeared to be a bit downcast, but after knowing that their wives are fine, they became slightly more at ease. As for the others, they are still the same.
At this moment, Kai Yun said respectfully, "Reporting to your honor, the rebellions have been eradicated.
A total of 2,031 heads were chopped off. Not bad. Kai Yun is already on the right track." Yi Hua praised Kai Yun. There is no need for me to remind Kai Yun about some things. One must understand the thoughts of the leader and then carry out the tasks accordingly. This is what a good subordinate should be like. Kai Yun was delighted. This is the first time that I have received his honors performance. This is truly exciting, yet also unbelievable. To think that there would actually be such a good thing.
I only did an insignificant thing, and yet, I was able to receive such a pleasant surprise.
After Yi Hua praised Kai Yun, everyone felt a burst of envy. Meanwhile, Wei Chong was thinking in his heart, when is his honor going to praise me? After all, I am using my life to display the quintessence of the matter. However, Wei Chong was going to be disappointed, because his honor didn't talk about this matter at all. After this matter, the focus of our entire team's work seems to have changed a bit.
Therefore, I want to come up with a new plan for our future development and so on.
Right now, Yi Hua was indeed a bit lost. Although I have only been here for a day, living without a direction, what difference is there between me and a salted fish? Tell me, do you all have any good suggestions? Yi Hua asked faintly. Wei Chong expressed that he was very sad. What about the praise?
I, Wei Chong, have already sacrificed so much. At this moment, Wei Chong took a step forward and said respectfully, "Your honor, ever since the matter between Qing Su and me."
Chapter 1266. When Wei Chong said the word "I," it seemed like he was reminding his honor. Did he forget to say something? For example, praising Wei Chang's brain. Isn't this a very important thing?
Yi Hua looked towards Wei Chong, and the latter's gaze flickered.
That's right, there is still another fortune teller at the back. Things are still not over yet. Yi Hua suddenly recalled that there is still another fortune teller that I have yet to deal with.
Wei Chong. Wei Chong, you have been hiding there for so long. Did you manage to obtain any news?
Yi Hua asked faintly. Wei Chong was very depressed. It felt like his quests weren't over yet, so he had to continue completing quests. When all the quests were completed, he would be praised. Such a result was still acceptable.
Your honor, I don't know the whereabouts of that fortune teller. I'm afraid that even the palace master and the others don't know.
Wei Chong said respectfully.
That fortune teller was indeed very powerful, so he had to strengthen his defenses and not let his guard down.
Yi Hua said faintly, this fortune teller naturally has to be included in the list of plans. Furthermore, this fortune teller is of the utmost importance, so we must definitely pay attention to him. Understood. All the subordinates shouted in unison.
Just as Yi Hua was about to continue expressing his opinion, his younger sister Yi Yuanqing's voice suddenly rang out in his mind.
Brother, I'm in trouble. Yi Yuanqing said unwillingly.
He really didn't want to ask his big brother for help, but he had no choice but to do so, because the spirit capital was going to change. All of these people were very strong, and we were completely unable to resist them. These people even claimed to be from the Eastern Emperor clan, the Imperial family. However, now that the Imperial family had changed their surname, the Eastern Royal clan was furious, and the current emperor was actually a woman.
Don't you think I'm angry? What happened? Yi Hua asked gravely.
I don't really understand why my little sister is in trouble.
This doesn't seem to be right.
Those people called Dong Huang have occupied the Imperial Palace, and there are a lot of powerful people among them.
Yi Yuanqing didn't have any other way to deal with Dong Huang. Yi Hua slightly wrinkled his brows. Why is it the Eastern Emperor clan again? The 9 prefectures and 5 seas had all collapsed.
The battle that day seemed to have ignored the Dong Huang clan, and it was because they had all died.
Did he not die at all? All of them ran to Lingdu? This seemed to be possible.
That Dong Huang Ji had such an ability, or the entire Dong Huang clan should have such an ability.
Yuanqing, where is the person that I gave you? Yi Hua asked gravely.
Big brother, they have a lot of experts. The people you gave me have disappeared, Yi Yuanqing said in a low voice. He had thought that with the strength of the 3 of them, his sister would be able to do whatever she wanted.
However, he was wrong.
Those 3 people were indeed very powerful, but compared to Dong Huang Jishang, they were still lacking.
Furthermore, the strength of the Eastern Emperor Extreme Shang wasn't just for show. Running into Yi Hua could only be considered as his misfortune.
However, if he ran into someone else, it would be a different story altogether. After hearing his little sister's words, Yi Hua's expression turned ugly. This Dong Huang clan, I, the Supreme Overlord, have already spared you all once, and yet, you all actually dare to push your luck yet again.
Looks like I'll have to make a trip to Lingdu. My younger sister won't be able to handle this.
However, at this moment, Yi Yuanqing, who had been living in the palace, had moved out.
It must be said, just how fast was the Dong Huang clan's speed.
They had just arrived at Lingdu, and they had already chased the newly appointed empress down from her position. However, Yi Yuanqing was actually spared by the Dong Huang Ji once. This could only mean one thing: as long as one's surname was Yi, a miracle would always appear.
Big sister, what did Big Brother say? Yi Chen hurriedly asked.
During the family's most crucial moment, only Big Brother was the most reliable. Right now, Father had already fainted from fright in the toilet, and his entire body was trembling. After all, he had offended the powerful Dong Huang clan. Yi Yuanqing said in a low voice. Big Brother said that he will immediately come over and handle this matter. That's good. As long as Big Brother is willing to come over and handle this matter, I can be sure that everything will be settled.
At this moment, Yi Zhe was also at ease.
Originally, I thought that I would be able to handle this small matter by myself, but I discovered that doesn't exist. Father had already fainted from fright.
Right now, Yi Yuanqing was still wearing the Empress's royal robe.
This is real. Why didn't the Dong Huang Ji kill Yi Yuanqing and these people with the surname Yi? It's all because these people all have the surname Yi. Perhaps it was because their home was destroyed, and it was destroyed by someone with the surname Yi, and they were unable to resist. Right now, as long as they heard someone with the surname Yi, they would subconsciously have the urge to turn around and run away.
There was really no other way.
For some people, as long as you have seen them, the evil in their bones would be deeply engraved in your heart, and you wouldn't dare to go against them in the slightest. This was especially so for powerful people. For example, the Dong Huang Ji had already been frightened to the point that his liver and gallbladder were trembling. Logically speaking, the matter of seizing the throne definitely had to kill these people. However, in the end they still let them go. Inside the palace, the Dong Huang Ji was currently sitting on the throne, looking down at the officials and the higher-ups of the Dong Huang clan. Among the officials, Shan Junren was naturally there as well. After all, he was the prime minister. However, this prime minister, as well as the officials, were all standing behind the Dong Huang clan. Everyone was trembling with fear. From yesterday until today, Too many things that no one could understand had already happened. However, these things that no one could understand actually made people feel that it was reasonable, or perhaps normal. The Dong Huangji was sitting on the throne with a gloomy expression, because he didn't sleep well at all last night. The reason why he didn't sleep well was because he was frightened. He was afraid that those people with the surname Yi were related to that man. If they were really related to that man, then this matter would be very troublesome.
It was simply the rhythm of death.
Even if those people with the surname Yi seized the throne, didn't I still not kill a single person?
I'm just afraid that I killed the wrong person. I don't even dare to ask about his background. If this person's background is extraordinary, what should I do? Wouldn't that mean that I'm going to die? I've died once in the past, and I've died quite thoroughly. This time, I really don't want to die again. My previous home is already gone, and this old home is my last piece of land. If even this piece of land is gone, then what is there to stay for? However, there are some things that should still be asked. This concerns the future and future life. Previously, how did those people with the surname Yi sit on the throne? Why didn't you people stop them? The Dong Huangji asked in a deep voice. However, his heart was beating like a drum. If I hear an answer that I don't want to hear, then what should I do? Chapter 1267. Among the officials, no one dared to answer this question. This was obviously a suicide question, the kind that whoever answered would die. It was commonly known as a scapegoat.
What? No one wants to say anything?
Dong Huangji shouted coldly. The atmosphere immediately became tense.
However, no matter how nervous they were, no one said anything, as if offending anyone would make them feel uncomfortable.
Who has the highest official position?
Dong Huangji shouted angrily, as if he wanted to release all of the fear in his heart.
Thus, everyone looked towards Shan Junren.
The latter's expression was calm, but in his heart, he was cursing.
The higher the official position, the scapegoat? You tell me, why did such a situation happen?
You all are protecting the face of the royal family, yet you let an outsider sit on this chair. What face do you all have left?
Shan Junren said respectfully, Old ancestor, this is a long story. Then make it short.
Dong Huangji said faintly.
That is because of Prince Yi. Prince Yi? What's his full name? Dong Huangji asked confusedly. Who is this Prince Yi? Why doesn't it feel so good?
Shan Junren naturally didn't dare to lie right now. Lying right now was no different from courting death.
Yi Hua. Shan Junren said in a low voice.
He felt that calling Prince Yi by his full name was a bit disrespectful to Prince Yi. However, those two words exploded in Dong Huangji's mind.
Yi Hua. Isn't it that man?
Everyone saw the old ancestor's expression instantly change. The speed at which his expression changed was even faster than that of a woman. Furthermore, within that ferocious expression, there was a trace of fear.
Why would there be a trace of fear? Everyone was a bit confused. You are right.
That tall and handsome Yi Hua?
Why does he keep a straight face all day? It's as if everyone owes him money. He's so arrogant.
The officials didn't expect that the old ancestor would actually evaluate Prince Yi like this. He simply evaluated the essence of Prince Yi. That's right, Prince Yi is this kind of person, my friend. There's nothing wrong with it.
Old ancestor, the person you described should be Prince Yi. Shan Junren said respectfully. He still didn't understand why. Dong Huangji was stupefied. Dong Huangfei, who was in the crowd, was also stupefied. Even Dong Huangqingro was stupefied. Can there be such a coincidence? How could he meet this person here?
Dong Huangji was feeling extremely aggrieved in his heart. If it was possible, he didn't want to ask earlier on. But now that he had asked, he didn't want to know. How can the heavens torture people like this? Dong Huangji Shang could be seen suddenly standing up. Tell me, where did that empress from yesterday live? Yi Yuanqing is still at home, Yi family. Dong Huangji instantly disappeared from where he was. That urgent look of his made it seem as if his wife was giving birth at home.
He didn't want to be careless. Of course, they couldn't be careless.
That was a man who was ferocious to the point of exploding.
If he was also a member of the Yi family, he had offended the other party again. He could even topple a hall master,
And yet he was still talking about himself? When he arrived on the streets of Spirit Capital, Dong Huangji started to ask the passers-by where the Yi family was. Then, he hurriedly flew over. This matter cannot be sloppy at all. I have to bring that woman, no. I have to bring that empress up to the throne. Let's just pretend that nothing happened yesterday. What do you think? Dong Huangji came to the entrance of the Yi clan and directly knocked on the door. However, in other places, Dong Huangji wouldn't do this at all. Whenever he knocked on the door, he would just directly push the door open. However, in this kind of situation, would he dare to knock on the door? He obviously wouldn't dare to knock on the door. After all, everyone here is my ancestor. You all are my ancestor. Very quickly, a servant opened the door. Who is it? The servant, who didn't understand the situation, was very arrogant. After all, the current Yi family was different from the past. If it was in the past, if such an arrogant servant appeared, Dong Huangji wouldn't pay attention to him. However, there would naturally be someone who would kill him. However, the current situation was different from the past. This little brother, can I trouble you to inform the servant that Dong Huangji is here to look for me? Dong Huangji slightly bowed his body and had a fawning look on his face. However, the servant stretched out his hand and waved it, as if you should understand. Dong Huangji didn't have much experience in the world, and he didn't understand what the servant was doing. Shaking hands was the best face that the servant could give the servant. Are you sick? You don't even understand this. Dong Huangji suppressed the anger in his heart. This lowly person actually dares to insult me and say that I'm sick. If it's possible, I really want to kill this person. Right now, Dong Huangji understood. Bringing money was not something that the boss would do. The boss only had treasures on him. Therefore, Dong Huangji gave the servant a pearl. The servant took a look at the pearl, then shook it and said faintly, "Not bad, go in." Thank you, little brother. Dong Huangji thought in his heart. This little brat is truly hard to deal with. The servant sneered. With a single look, I can tell that this is a man who hasn't seen the world before. To actually come to the back door and knock on the door, and even foolishly give me treasures, isn't this person sick? Yi family was actually quite big. Just like Dong Huangji, in order to find the empress, he didn't speak loudly, and he also didn't ask randomly. Why is it that as long as you ask, all sorts of things and treasures will be given to you, and you will tell them the truth, but in the end, they will still be fake? I have never seen such a scammer. Everyone here is a scammer. Everyone is targeting me. They are simply very bad. Dong Huangji, who was lost, could only find a place to sit down and calm himself down. Don't flatten this place just because I lost my temper. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps rang out. Dong Huangji directly said, "Don't come and ask me for things, I don't have any treasures anymore." Ancestor? Yi Chen cried out in shock. He had seen this person in the royal court yesterday, so he recognized him with a single look. This person even chased me and big sister out yesterday. Why is he here again today? Just what is the meaning of this? You are? Why would Dong Huangji care about other people's names? Towards this young man in front of him, he did not have any impression at all. I am Yi Chen. Yi Yuanqing is my big sister. What? You are Yi Chen. Bring me to see your big sister, quickly. There is an urgent matter. In Yi Chen's eyes, this ancestor was a very decent person. So why is he so impatient and not calm at all? Furthermore, why is he so anxious to find big sister? What is going on? However, thinking about the current situation, I can only bring him to see her. There might still be a chance for things to turn around. Yi Chen did not say anything and directly brought Dong Huangji to find big sister. Right now, Yi Yuanqing was waiting for his big brother's arrival so that he can take back the throne. So he was clearly a bit impatient. However, at the door, two figures suddenly appeared. This caused Yi Yuanqing to be startled, because one of them was Dong Huangji, this man who chased him off the throne yesterday. Chapter 1268. Big Sister He. Before Yi Chen could finish, Dong Huangji rushed forward and bowed. If he were to kneel and slide, the effect would be even better. Yi Yuanqing was dumbfounded. What is going on? This old ancestor of the Donghuang clan is actually bowing to me. What is the meaning of this?
I don't understand what is going on. Please follow me, Empress.
Dong Huangji bowed with a pious heart. However, when he lowered his head, his gaze was filled with boundless fear.
Who would have known that the woman he chased down was actually that man's little sister? This man is so unlucky. Even water will get stuck between his teeth. What are you doing? Yi Yuanqing questioned coldly.
This man actually wants me to follow him.
How is that possible? Who knows where he is going? Maybe he is looking for a chance to kill me.
This is simply unbearable. When Big Brother comes, I will teach him a lesson. Misunderstanding. This is all a misunderstanding. I was immature yesterday.
Dong Huang Corporation hurriedly said. If I don't lower my head now, when will I do it? Could it be that I have to wait until I die before lowering my head? Yi Yuanqing finally understood. This man actually took the initiative to admit his mistake? Could it be that Big Brother has already come over to greet me? It is very possible. Big Brother is still the best.
I just said how long has it been? Big Brother has already settled everything properly. Big Brother is amazing.
Is it really a misunderstanding?
Yi Yuanqing felt that with Big Brother supporting him, he immediately became confident.
Dong Huangji Shang said in a low voice.
Yes, it's all a misunderstanding.
Regarding yesterday's matter, I will do my best to compensate you. Empress, please move to the Imperial Palace.
That is where you should be living, and not here.
Who was the one who said that I don't have the right to stay there yesterday? Yi Yuanqing teased. Her mood became much better. Dong Huangji knew that this woman was making things difficult for him. But what could he do? This was the only way. It is all my fault. I hope that Empress will not hold it against me. Dong Huangji was filled with grievances.
When have I ever been so lowly? Never.
Never, but today. I am so lowly that it even reaches my crotch. Yi Yuanqing did not have the interest to continue messing around.
That's enough. Big Brother has already arranged everything properly.
All right, I understand. You can go back first.
No. Your Majesty must enter the palace now. Only then can I be at ease.
Dong Huangji Shang's heart was thumping like a drum. If this matter were to be known by that demon, it would definitely be hard to clean up the mess. Yi Yuanqing said softly, I still need to make some preparations. I will return to the palace tomorrow. Go back and clean up and put my things back in place. Hearing this, Dong Huangji Shang felt as if he had dealt with something unpleasant. It seemed like he had to change it based on his memory. But this required time as well. All right, I understand. Dong Huangji Shang said hurriedly. He turned around and was about to leave, but he suddenly realized that he didn't seem to have asked to leave. If he did, it would seem that he was lacking in manners.
He turned back and said, Your Majesty, I just want to go back and make preparations.
Go. All right. Dong Huangji finally dared to go back and prepare. Seeing Dong Huangji leave, Yi Chen asked out of curiosity, Is it because of Big Brother? Yi Yuanqing nodded, Only Big Brother has such ability. Yi Chen agreed and said happily, With Big Brother around, we will be able to bring glory to Yi family. That's right. With just the few of us, it is far from enough. Yi Yuanqing let out a long sigh. This is the most important problem. Big sister, I will go and make arrangements first. All right. Yi Chen cupped his hands, then left.
Yi Yuanqing let out a breath, and a trace of a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth.
Right at this moment, a figure appeared in front of Yi Yuanqing. Other than Yi Hua, who else could it be? Big Brother. Yi Yuanqing stood up and said joyfully. Soon after, she pounced into her Big Brother's embrace. I feel so safe. No wonder my sisters-in-law like Big Brother so much. Originally, Yi Hua came here to solve the problem, but his little sister's reaction just now caused him to be a bit stupefied. What is going on? Why is she so happy? Could it be that she is so happy because she saw me, her Big Brother?
I, the Supreme Overlord, am very touched. As expected of my little sister.
Big Brother, you are the best. Yi Yuanqing said excitedly. He even stood on his tiptoes and kissed his little sister. Don't misunderstand. This is the pure love between brother and sister. Yi Hua naturally knew that as well.
He lightly patted onto his little sister's head, Little sister is in trouble, as your big brother, I naturally have to come and help you. Sure enough, it is the same as what I thought. Big brother, you are really amazing. You settled the matter in just a few minutes.
Settled?
Yi Hua asked confusedly, indicating that he didn't know at all.
That's right. Wasn't it big brother who settled the matter? Yi Yuanqing asked curiously.
Yi Hua was a bit embarrassed, but he still said seriously, of course I, as your big brother, will definitely settle the matter for you.
Hee, you are amazing, big brother. Yi Yuanqing gave a thumbs up. Yi Hua was confused.
It should be that the Eastern Emperor family knows about me. That's why they took the initiative to apologize to me, right? Other than this, there really isn't any other possibility. Since everything is settled, big brother, I will be going back first.
All right, big brother, take care. When you are free, come and eat at little sister's place.
Yi Hua waved his hand. All right, when the time comes, big brother will bring your sisters-in-law over.
Make sure to prepare more.
Don't worry, big brother, I will make sure that you are full. Yi Hua smiled and nodded his head, then disappeared from the spot.
However, Yi Hua didn't go back home. Instead, he went to look for Dong Huangji. This old man shouldn't be dead yet. Just when Dong Huangji arrived at the palace, he saw a figure landing beside him. When he took a look, he almost peed in his pants. Brother-in-law.
Dong Huangji didn't know why he called out this word, but if he didn't call out this word, perhaps someone might die.
When Yi Hua heard this word, he slightly went into a daze. After all, being called brother-in-law by an old man, that kind of feeling is rather strange. However, thinking about it now, it doesn't seem right. Dong Huangbaiji is actually his big sister? If that's the case, just how old is the empress? If that's the case, wouldn't I be at a disadvantage?
Other people always say that a woman who is 3 years older will hug a golden brick, but this isn't just 3 years old. There are even women who are 30,000 years old. The empress is really dishonest, hiding her age. She is really bad. When I return, I have to properly reason with the empress.
I heard that you chased my little sister off the throne? Yi Hua said coldly.
His pair of eyes carried an ice-cold aura, as if as long as you don't say a single word correctly, I will kill you.
Chapter 1269.
Dong Huangji also had the same feeling, and his entire body shivered. Brother-in-law, this is all a misunderstanding. The flood rushed to the Dragon King's temple. A misunderstanding, a misunderstanding. Dong Huangji was so flustered that he started dancing. Misunderstanding? That's right, that's right. I dare to swear to the heavens that this is all a misunderstanding. I didn't intend to harm anyone at all. Dong Huangji patted his chest and said, wishing that he could shatter his own chest to prove himself.
Looking at Dong Huangji's attitude, Yi Hua felt that this situation was still pretty good.
If anything were to happen in the future, Dong Huangji would be able to lead the Dong Huang family and help his sister. After all, I can't take care of my sister forever. It's fine to prepare another path for my sister. Since you said that this is a misunderstanding, I will believe you for once.
Yi Hua said lightly. Hearing this tone, even Dong Huangji heaved a sigh of relief.
This is how a normal tone should be. That tone just now was simply terrifying, as if he wanted to kill me.
Thank you, brother-in-law. Thank you, brother-in-law. Dong Huangji hurriedly thanked Yi Hua and finally heaved a sigh of relief. Yi Hua said gravely, didn't you guys create a Dong Huang family? In the future, continue to do so. Properly assist my sister, understand?
I know, I think so too. Dong Huangji felt that he had returned to the time when he was young, and he could casually say those kind of compliments.
It is for the best that you have such awareness. Let's leave it at that.
Yi Hua said indifferently. Then his body disappeared.
Right now, Dong Huangji's back was drenched with sweat. This man can even deal with palace masters. What else can't he deal with?
If he wanted to kill me just now, I reckon that he would be able to deal with me with a single slap. This is already the best ending. I am truly fortunate.
Very quickly, Yi Hua returned to his own empire.
His subordinates had already been dismissed, and Wei Chong had also released Death Mage and Death Assassin. When Death Mage found out that his woman actually went to train, although he didn't have a scalp, he still felt numb. However, Death Assassin was thinking about how is that Long Out Yen. Is he in any danger after all? He is still my disciple, and that golden-haired little treasure.
Yi Hua had almost forgotten about that matter, and he couldn't even remember who Long Out Yen was. After thinking for a long time, I finally figured it out. So it's that man. I felt that it's a little funny, but I never expected that the Death Assassin would actually be guarding beside Long Out Yen. However, to Yi Hua, this was just a small matter, and he didn't take it to heart. Because there was something more important that needed to be dealt with. Your Honor, something happened. Zhu Tian hurried over and reported the situation. What happened? Yi Hua was currently eating lunch with Donghuang Baiji, and Zhu Tian suddenly rushed over. For Zhu Tian to be this anxious, Yi Hua knew that it was definitely a big matter. If it was just a small matter, Zhu Tian would definitely not disturb Donghuang Baiji's meal. Donghuang Baiji slightly raised her head and looked towards Zhu Tian, and her expression gradually became grave. Could it be that among those people, someone is in danger? Or, it's the people who are training, Absolute Heaven said in a deep voice. Yi Hua tightly wrinkled his brows. Among those people, there was my own younger brother and my subordinates. If something were to really happen to them, it wouldn't be good. Who died? Yi Hua asked coldly. This caused Donghuang Baiji to become cold as well. Zhu Tian hurriedly explained, Your Honor, madam, it's not that someone died, it's just that there's an extra person. Yi Hua and Donghuang Baiji were puzzled. There's an extra person? Who is that person? Yi Hua asked curiously. There shouldn't be anyone else in that kind of place. Zhu Tian said in a low voice, as if he was talking about a secret. That person, he claims to be a guardian. Zhu Tian said in a light voice, and his tone was filled with astonishment. After all, quite a few of these guardians had already appeared, and right now, there was even one of them living in the imperial palace. When Yi Hua heard that this guardian had appeared, the frown on his brows became even deeper. These guardians have been appearing one after another since the very beginning, and it was as if they had already agreed on this beforehand. The main point was, the strength of these guardians were all extremely formidable. However, what kind of things would a group of such people be protecting? This was what made Yi Hua curious. However, under this curiosity, Yi Hua kept feeling that this was not a good thing. This was a kind of intuition, but Yi Hua never believed in intuition, and he only believed in himself. Your Honor, how should we deal with this guardian? Zhu Tian asked respectfully. He is following little Tian and the others? Yi Hua picked up his chopsticks, picked up a green bean, and placed it into his mouth to chew. That's right. Let him continue following us then. Yi Hua also had his own plans. Right now, he had a better feeling towards the person behind the guardian. If it is possible, I really want to meet up with the guardian and have a chat with him. Or perhaps, just what exactly are these guardians protecting, or who are they protecting? I, the Supreme Overlord, hope that it is who it is. If it is something, I, the Supreme Overlord, will be disappointed. Of course, legendary weapons are still very rare, and if it is possible, Yi Hua also wants to get his hands on one to satisfy his craving. Zhu Tian naturally wouldn't go against his honor's order, and he shouted out respectfully, Subordinate shall take his leave, I shall not disturb his honor and your wife from enjoying their meal. After speaking, Yi Juetian swallowed his saliva. These dishes seem to be very delicious. Yu is the one who is the best at cooking, and right now she has gone out to train, causing the amount of food that she gets to eat to plummet. Furthermore, Blood Demon only cooks for his honor, and other people can only eat his honor's food during festivals. It must be said right now, Blood Demon has obtained his honor's heart with his culinary skills. Compared to strength, Blood Demon is much more powerful. After Zhu Tian left, Yi Hua placed down his chopsticks, picked up the wine that was beside him, and lightly took a sip. Yi Hua, just who are these guardians? Why are they appearing one after another? Donghuang Baiji was also very worried. She felt that these guardians were the ones that she needed to be on guard against. As for that palace master, she could just directly ignore him. Yi Hua took a sip of the wine, then said faintly, These people are indeed a bit troublesome. The problem is, what are they protecting? After all, none of them are weak. Then, will they be targeting us? Hearing Yi Hua's tone, Donghuang Baiji felt as if they wouldn't be able to win the battle. Yi Hua laughed lightly. Targeting us? That will only hasten their deaths. Looking at Yi Hua's relaxed expression again, Dong Huang Baiji was slightly infected. Yi Hua has never been afraid of anyone. That would be for the best. Yi Hua, you have to work hard. Don't let your guard down anymore. Yi Hua smiled as he stroked onto Dong Huang Baiji's hair. Rest assured, Your Majesty, I have always been the one who wins the first battle. There is no such thing as me making a mistake. Chapter 1270. Dong Huang Baiji remained silent. I'm afraid that Yi Hua will really make a mistake one day. In a battle between experts, a mistake would mean losing your life. Promise me in the future, you will treat every battle seriously. Dong Huang Baiji held onto Yi Hua's hand and said worriedly. Yi Hua nodded his head. Don't worry, I will promise you this rude request of yours. Dong Huang Baiji laughed. You bastard, I am talking to you seriously, yet you are acting so frivolous again. When did I become frivolous? Your Majesty, don't slander me. Yi Hua smiled faintly. TSK. Dong Huang Baiji snorted. Yi Hua suddenly thought of something and pinched the Empress's cheeks. Right, Your Majesty, I have something to ask you. What is it? Dong Huang Baiji asked confusedly. Actually, it's not a big matter. I just want to ask you, how old are you compared to me? Yi Hua revealed a teasing smile. Seeing Yi Hua's smile, Dong Huang Baiji immediately knew that this fellow was teasing her again. Do you want to know? Dong Huang Baiji teased. Sometimes, a husband and wife need this kind of atmosphere to improve their relationship. Yi Hua nodded his head. I can be your ancestor now. Dong Huang Baiji spread out her hands. Yi Hua's mouth twitched. I feel that I am at a disadvantage. Are you older than me by tens of thousands of years, or even hundreds of thousands of years? What? What do you want? The Empress placed her hands on her waist. Is she looking down on me now? I want to have a taste of your ancestor. After speaking, Yi Hua carried the Empress. Empress Baiji cried out in surprise. Yi Hua, it's broad daylight. What does it have to do with me? Shameless. Your Majesty, do you think that a shameless man will be able to get a beautiful wife? That's impossible. You are full of twisted logic. Dong Huang Baiji said snappily. Old witch. Who are you calling an old witch? Yi Hua. I'm not done with you. The room immediately filled with the sound of the two scolding each other. Their relationship sure is good. Meanwhile, Long Outyen's group had already arrived at the Sea of Innocence, where the north and south intersected. Their journey was more daunting than dangerous, and they did not encounter any major incidents. They did not even see any pursuers. However, towards the Death Assassin's sudden departure, everyone was puzzled. Of course, they were reluctant to part with him. However, they also saw many wondrous sights along the way. Ever since that night, the entire continent had undergone tremendous changes. Some of the ground sank, some of the ground cracked, and some of the ground rose up like a mountain. Along the way, the few of them were amazed. Long Outyen even felt that it had something to do with that night. Even the disappearance of the Death Assassin was related to that night. Previously, he'd heard that the Sea of Innocence was a vast expanse of ocean, and that it was a spectacular sight. But now, there wasn't even a single drop of water, and there was only a bottomless abyss below. So this is the Sea of Innocence? Said Long Outyen in a daze. Lord Jiu frowned slightly as he looked at the bottomless abyss in front of him. However, he could not see the other side at all. Little Treasure sniffed the surroundings and growled from time to time. Grandpa, Daddy, your son will scout the way for you, Chu Yuxuan said faintly. He seemed really cold and aloof. Lord Jiu and Long Outyen seemed to have gotten used to being called Chu Yuxuan. Long Outyen shook his head. Forget it. Meng Meng hugged Long Yang and let out a light breath. A woman just wanted to find a stable home. However, ever since she came to this world, she never had a stable home. Long Outyen looked at his wife beside him. He knew what his wife was thinking. She also wanted to find a home and live a peaceful life. But that Wuxia Empire. It was said that it was located in the northernmost part of the continent. However, they had only reached the center of the continent. Furthermore, the north didn't have such good weather, and it was extremely cold. Are we really going to that Wushu Empire? Can't we go to other cities? Meng Meng asked in a low voice. Actually, Meng Meng didn't really care where they were going. She mainly wanted to settle down. However, Long Outyen also had his own ideas. He wanted to find a safe place where they didn't have to move around. Long Outyen hugged onto his wife's shoulder and said in a low voice, Meng Meng, you can be at ease, there is still quite a distance to go. They all say that Wushu Empire is like heaven on earth, and after we reach there, we will be able to live a good life. We don't have to live this kind of wandering life anymore. Lord Jiu didn't think so, because whenever he heard the word Wushu, he would immediately associate it with Wushu realm. However, Lord Jiu was also thinking in his heart, it shouldn't be such a coincidence, right? To be able to meet with Wushu realm in such a place, it doesn't exist. Therefore I can go and take a look. Lord Jiu rubbed onto Xiaobao's head, and Xiaobao wagged his tail happily. To Xiaobao, as long as there was a place with an owner, that place would be home. Chu Yuxuan could be seen flying straight into the abyss, causing Long Outyen to cry out in surprise. Lord Jiu held onto his forehead and asked helplessly in a low voice, Outyen, what kind of acupuncture technique is that? You still haven't finished researching it. I can give it a try. Meng Meng rolled her eyes at her husband. It's best if you don't give it a try. Just now, you made others look like a child, then you made others look like a cold person. If you were to poke them again, what would you do if they end up sounding like an old man? That's right, Daddy. Big brother Yuxuan is actually quite pitiful. Don't keep poking others. Even Long Yang was pleading for Chu Yuxuan. Right now, Chu Yuxuan has already stopped his acupuncture technique. Don't let him have a bad habit anymore. Long Outyen let out a long sigh. That acupuncture technique is too difficult. However, what my wife and child said is right. If he were to have a bad habit again, it would be even more troublesome. Right now, this acupuncture technique is still considered to be obedient. Suddenly, Xiaobao actually barked toward the abyss, and this caused everyone to be on guard. A ferocious aura immediately spread out from the abyss, and everyone immediately retreated. Long Outyen and Lord Jiu slightly bent their bodies, ready to fight at any moment. Meng Meng carried Long Yang and stood behind the two. Xiaobao stood beside Lord Jiu and bared his fangs, and his gaze was also very ferocious. 3 figures could be seen rushing out from the abyss, and one of them was naturally Chu Yuxuan. The other 2 were dressed in armor and looked just like imperial guards. At the very least, Long Outyen and Lord Jiu could tell that Chu Yuxuan was very strong. However, the fact that these 2 soldiers were able to suppress Chu Yuxuan left them puzzled. Who are you people? How dare you intrude into the Sea of Innocence? One of the imperial guards shouted coldly. Chu Yuxuan snorted coldly. Sea of Innocence. Show me a drop of seawater. The 2 imperial guards glanced at each other, then shouted angrily. Audacious! You actually dare to disrespect the Sea of Innocence. You deserve to die. After speaking, the 2 imperial guards launched a new round of attacks. Under the pincer attack of the 2, Chu Yuxuan seemed to be a bit powerless. The other party was indeed very strong. Chapter 1271. Long Outyen hurriedly shouted, You've misunderstood. We didn't do it on purpose. We just wanted to cross the Sea of Innocence. We didn't have any other intentions. Following Long Outyen's shout, the 2 bodyguards slowed down their attacks, allowing Chu Yuxuan to recover. For Chu Yuxuan, these 2 bodyguards were still very strong. If it was a 1v1, it would be fine. However, fighting 2 of them would be very disadvantageous for him. The cooperation between the 2 of them was also flawless. Their battle prowess was doubled. Why are you crossing the Sea of Innocence? Why are you going north? One of the guards asked. Jiu Yi shouted, We're going to the Wushu Empire in the north. Wushu Empire? The guard said in a low voice. His expression gave Long Outyen and Jiu Yi a bad feeling. Could it be that there was some conflict between these guards and the Wushu Empire? They didn't have any conflict, but they'd heard of the Wushu Empire. They'd heard that it was a good place, but at the same time, there was a bone dragon there. This bone dragon was said to be the one that hadn't died completely. As for whether or not that was true, They didn't know.
Yes, we're going there to settle down, Long Outyen said.
The two guards stopped. Long Outyen hurriedly called Chu Yuxuan back.
Chu Yuxuan knew that he wasn't their match, so he quickly returned. However, Jiao Ye's golden retriever was still barking. Jiao Yi patted Xiao Bao's head, but Xiao Bao seemed very stubborn and kept barking at the two guards.
Woof woof woof. His barking echoed throughout the abyss.
If you can't fly, you can't cross this place, one of the guards suddenly said.
The Sea of Innocence was ridiculously wide. An ordinary flight would take at least a month, and that was the kind of flight that didn't stop.
That's why the guard kindly reminded them that they'd probably lose all of their battle energy before even flying for a day.
Then, they'd fall to the bottom of the abyss and die.
Long Outyen and Jiao Yi naturally knew how to fly, but Meng Meng and Long Yang couldn't, and Xiao Bao couldn't either.
Carrying them, they definitely wouldn't be able to fly.
Little brother, is there any other way to cross?
Jiao Yi asked in a pleading tone.
In the past, you could take a boat, but now, there's really no other way.
You should just return, the god said indifferently, then left. After the two guards left, the group didn't say anything. They were all filled with helplessness.
Dad, who were those people just now?
Long Yang asked curiously.
In this plane, people could grow up quickly.
Long Yang was like this now.
Lord Jiao said in a low voice, "These people are probably from Water City."
That's right.
I heard that there's a water city beneath the Sea of Innocence, but I'm afraid it'll have to be renamed.
It won't be called Water City anymore, said Long Outyen helplessly. Was it really impossible to go there?
Dad, what's that called?
Long Yang asked curiously. Little brother, this place should be called Deep Abyss City, Chu Yuxuan said coolly. However, a voice suddenly rang out.
Abyss City, what a nice name. Everyone immediately looked up and saw a figure floating in the air. He was dressed in a luxurious robe, and it was obvious that he was a disciple of a rich family.
The person who came was Qi Shuwen.
As for why he came, it was because he heard the dog barking. As far as Qi Shuwen knew, there was no such thing as a dog on this continent, so he came over to take a look out of curiosity. This is incredible. It's actually a golden fur. How is it possible for a golden fur to appear here?
Long Outyen and the others were also sizing him up, feeling very confused. Qi Shuwen slowly descended. He looked at Long Outyen and Meng Meng, then at Lord Jiao, and a look of astonishment immediately appeared in his eyes.
You're Lord Jiao?
Qi Shuwen cried out in surprise. Back then, Lord Jiao lived a very good life. Lord Jiao's photos were everywhere. Although Qi Shuwen never interacted with Lord Jiao, he still recognized Lord Jiao. If Xian Ba was here, he would definitely recognize Lord Jiao. After all, Lord Jiao was his superior. However, Lord Jiao didn't recognize Qi Shuwen. Lord Jiao was also puzzled that the man in front of him knew him. Long Outyen was also very shocked.
Could it be that this man in front of me is also a transmigrator?
Is he the same as me?
You are?
Lord Jiao asked. Qi Shuwen smiled. I didn't expect to meet someone from the same hometown. My luck is really good. You all transmigrated here, right? My name is Qi Shuwen. Qi Shuwen was very enthusiastic to meet someone from the same hometown. He was an outsider in this world, and he felt a sense of loneliness. Now that he met someone from the same hometown, that sense of familiarity instantly came. You also transmigrated here? My name is Long Outyen, this is my wife Meng Meng, my child is Long Yang, and this child is Chu Yuxuan. Long Outyen introduced carefully.
Qi Shuwen was very happy and asked curiously, how long have you all been here?
Why did you all come here?
Sigh, we have been here for a period of time. Recently, we were being chased after, and we didn't have a safe place to stay. Thus, we decided to go to Wuxia Empire.
Lord Jiao said gravely.
One had no choice but to lower one's head when under someone else's eaves. This was a plane where strength was respected.
Being chased after? Who is chasing after us? Qi Shuwen said angrily.
Chasing after my fellow townsmen, that means that they are going against me. Long Outyen said helplessly, it's a power called Broken Meridian Sect, they are very powerful. So it's Broken Meridian Sect, they are indeed very powerful. However, since you all came to my water city, They definitely won't dare to do anything. Qi Shuwen patted on his chest and guaranteed.
You are in Water City? Lord Zhou cried out in surprise.
Water City is very powerful. I have heard about it on the way here.
Qi Shuwen also felt a little proud.
After all, Lord Zhou was very powerful in the past, but now, I am doing even better. After I came over, I appeared in Water City. After working hard without any slack, I can still say a few words in Water City now.
Long Outyen said with a faint smile. Lord Zhou gave a thumbs up.
Youngsters here are truly incredible. As long as they are given the chance, they will be able to soar into the sky. How about following me to Water City?
Qi Shuwen said passionately.
He walked in front of Xiao Bao and patted Xiao Bao's head. At first, Xiao Bao was still very resistant, but when he saw Qi Shuwen's sincere gaze, he no longer resisted.
Outyen, how about it?
How about we go to Water City first?
Lord Zhou came to Long Outyen's side and said in a low voice.
The current Long Outyen was no longer the Long Outyen of the past. The person in front of him was, after all, a stranger. When a fellow townsman met a fellow townsman, there would always be a blade on one's back.
Outyen, Meng Meng called out.
In her heart, she didn't want to leave anymore. I heard that Water City is very powerful. If I am able to live in it, I will definitely be very safe. Long Outyen looked at Lord Zhou and his wife, took a deep breath, walked in front of Qi Shuwen, cupped his hands and said, "Then I will have to trouble you." Qi Shuwen turned his head and looked at Long Outyen, patted Long Outyen's shoulder and said, "Don't worry, Water City will definitely be very safe. The Broken Meridian sect will not dare to come."
Chapter 1272.
When Meng Meng heard this, she heaved a sigh of relief and said to her son, "Yang, we finally have a home." Long Yang was very obedient. Long Outyen looked at his wife and child and smiled. Although they didn't go to Wuxia Empire, it was still good to come to this Water City.
Jiao Yi patted Xiao Bao's head and heaved a sigh of relief.
These days of running for their lives, they were exhausted. Sometimes they really wanted to give up. Qi Shuwen brought everyone to the bottom of the Sea of Innocence. However, it couldn't be said to be at the bottom of the sea. It was just a city in a ditch. Of course, they couldn't see what was below from the shore, because it was really very, very deep. Although there was no seawater, the Water City was still magnificent. At the very least, when Long Outyen and Jiao Yi saw the Water City, they were shocked. This was simply a combination of ancient and modern times. "Dad, Mom, this place is so beautiful." Long Yang liked this city at first glance. He even spread his arms, as if he wanted to hug the entire Water City. "Yeah, it's really beautiful," Meng Meng murmured, her eyes filled with shock.
Long Outyen and Jiao Yi were the same. To Qi Shuwen, a strange feeling rose.
On Earth, Jiao Yi was stronger than me, but here I, Qi Shuwen, am the awesome one. Fellow townsmen, this is Water City.
Qi Shuwen introduced.
His status in Water City had risen. His father-in-law, who didn't approve of him in the past, was now starting to approve of him. Looking at the prosperity of Water City, one couldn't even see the end of it. "It's really big. I feel that this should be better than Wuxia Empire. This is really an eye-opener. I'm impressed."
Jiao Yi cupped his hands.
This young man actually did so well after transmigrating here. While forget it.
I came here because I was tired of that kind of life.
If I wasn't tired of it, I wouldn't have come here. Qi Shuwen said modestly, "You flatter me. Everyone, please follow me." Long Outyen saw that there were actually interstellar cannons on the city walls.
He was amazed. Just what kind of city was this?
After entering the city, Long Outyen saw the true prosperity of Water City.
His eyes brightened.
The guards here were really strong. There are 3 big families in Water City. I am now a member of the Bao family. Hearing Qi Shuwen's words, everyone instantly understood. It turned out that he was going to marry into his family. After all, his surname was Bao. However, this was also someone else's ability. This was not something that could be obtained through envy. Long Outyen laughed and said, "Brother Qi's wife must be very beautiful."
"Ugly woman. I'm just an ugly woman,"
Qi Shuwen said modestly.
My wife is Water City's #1 beauty. Of course, everyone knew that Qi Shuwen was being modest, so they just smiled and said nothing. The Bao family was still so big. Although the eldest son died in the last battle, it still couldn't stop the Bao family's development. Long Outyen and the others were shocked as well. As expected of one of the top 3 families in Water City, the scale of the family was really shocking. Husband. At this moment, Bao Yu walked over from the front hall with a smile, looking at the person behind her husband. Long Outyen and the others took a look at Abalone. How is this an ugly woman? She looks so good. She is truly an exceptionally beautiful woman. Shaki. Let me introduce you. These are my fellow countrymen, Qi Shuwen said happily.
Abalone seemed to be very hospitable and revealed a light smile. Hello everyone, quickly come into the hall and chat. Seeing that Abalone didn't put on any airs, everyone let out a sigh of relief. Generally speaking, big families would look down on others a bit. However, the people from the Bao family seemed to be quite easy to get along with. Come in everyone, Sharky will get people to serve tea, prepare the dishes, and also a room.
Qi Shuwen laughed lightly.
All right everyone, I will take my leave first. Abalone said in a low voice. Sorry to disturb you all. Jiu Yi revealed a kind smile. This couple is really hospitable. Qi Shuwen said generously. What's there to disturb, come? Don't be polite, it isn't easy to live outside. Long Outyen nodded his head. It was indeed not easy to live outside. Everyone sat in the hall, and the tea was served very quickly. Abalone didn't disturb everyone's chat and went to prepare the dishes personally, causing Long Outyen and the others to panic.
Isn't she being too hospitable? She wouldn't kill us and turn us into barbecued pork buns, right? Everyone, you can stay here in the future. The Bao family has a lot of houses, and you and I are very bored. Qi Shuwen chuckled and beckoned Little Bao over. Little Bao looked at Lord Jiu and Lord Jiu nodded. Only then did Little Bao slowly walk to Qi Shuwen's side and squat down. Qi Shuwen gently stroked Xiao Bao's head. A long time ago, he also had the thought of feeding a dog. At that time, he wanted to feed a Samoyed, but he didn't have the time, so he spent all his time cultivating. There was no dog breed here. Now that he saw a golden retriever, he felt a lot of emotions. If you want to say which plane is better, Qi Shuwen wanted to say that it is still my home that is better, but I was forced to come over. Hearing Qi Shuwen's suggestion, of course, everyone was embarrassed to agree. Perhaps he was just being polite. There's no need for that. That would be too much trouble for you, Long Outyen quickly said. However, Long Yang pouted and said, Daddy, Mommy and I like it here. Grandpa, Dad, I like it here too, Chu Yuxuan said. Long Outyen and Lord Jiu felt awkward.
Qi Shuwen looked at everyone and said with a smile, All right, it's decided then. You guys don't have to be so polite anymore. Long Outyen and Lord Jiu looked at each other. Lord Jiu smiled. Then we'll do as you say.
In the future, you don't have to be restrained anymore. In this world, you still have to properly cultivate. Qi Shuwen said lightly.
Ever since the Sea of Innocence lost its seawater, I can no longer absorb draconic energy.
I have to think of a way. Long Outyen nodded his head.
Indeed. If I were as strong as Death Assassin, I wouldn't have to bring my wife and child and run away. Strength is still very important.
However, Lord Jiu didn't think so.
Strength is indeed important, but it isn't everything. I just want to bring Little Bao along and live out my later years in peace, away from those disputes. However, those disputes always come looking for me, so it's very annoying.
That's right, strength is still the key.
Long Outyen said in a low voice. In the future, when everyone cultivates together, we can also compare notes with each other.
Qi Shuwen said with a faint smile, teasing Little Bao from time to time.
After a long while everyone was chatting, Abalone walked in with a smile on her face. Husband, everyone, it's time to eat. Qi Shuwen stood up and said with a smile, Everyone, let's go and fill our stomachs and have a good rest.
Chapter 1273. Thank you, brother. Long Outyen also felt at ease.
Since I did not go to Wushu Empire,
This place is also a good choice. Long Outyen and Jiao Yi have settled down in Water City. If I go to Wushu Empire, I should be even more shocked or even sullen. After all, back then, I was still Yi Hua's love rival, and I was messed up by Yi Hua. However, if not for Yi Hua, I wouldn't have met the current Meng Meng, and I wouldn't have my son. Therefore, Long Outyen still had to thank Yi Hua for letting him meet such a cute girl. As long as one is willing to work hard, the heavens will see, then give a bit of charity, and then continue to live a bitter life. After all, I have already gotten used to it. Right now, Yi Hua was chatting with Ran Yao, wanting to know more about the Guardians. Ran Yao sat opposite to Yi Hua and seemed a bit restrained, mainly because she was afraid of being beaten up. If I didn't stomp that eye into a poached egg, I wouldn't be so passive. However, even if I didn't, the ending would still be the same. To Yi Zizi, it was just the difference between 1 punch and 2 punches. Ran Yao, how many guardians do you have in total? In Yi Hua's knowledge, there were a total of 4 guardians. The first one was that Su Jiao, the second one was that woman called Xing Tsong that he met in God's realm, and the last one was the one that his little brother met right now. Ran Yao pursed her lips and said softly, "Your Honor, I really don't know about this." "Then what do you know?" Yi Hua knew that Ran Yao wasn't lying to him, that Su Jiao didn't remember anything either. However, speaking of which, why did these guardians lose their memories all at once? Just what kind of secret is hidden here? I feel that it should be a very big secret. After all, the strength of these guardians are all very powerful. I only know my name and nickname, Ran Yao said embarrassedly. She knew why Yi Hua came over to ask her. Although Yi Hua knew that this fellow would say that, there was still a bit of hope. Then, don't you have a place that you want to go to? In your subconscious? Yi Hua asked curiously. That Su Jiao seemed to have said that. Ran Yao swallowed her saliva. What does his honor mean by this? Is he chasing me away? Or could it be that he has another purpose? Strange, this is simply too strange. No. Ran Yao chose to stay. The outside world was very dangerous. Who knew if she would meet another group of powerful people? If that happened, she would die and become a prisoner again. It was great to live here. There was food, water, and protection from some big shots. There was no need to worry about anything else. Yi Hua let out a light sigh. I really came here for nothing. If you have any thoughts, inform me, understand? Yi Hua said gravely. Yes, I will, Ran Yao said respectfully. Thoughts? That didn't exist. How could he have such thoughts? Yi Hua left helplessly. I keep having the feeling that these guardians aren't good people, and it's only because they lost their memories that they became good people. Perhaps he was a very bad person. These 4 guardians, 3 males and 1 female, are there any other guardians? He was a little frustrated. Returning back to his bedroom, Dong Huang Baiji was currently pruning a potted plant in the garden. Yi Hua felt that recently, the women in the guild, have they become bored to this extent? All of the women in the guild are pruning plants. Yi Hua, did you manage to get anything out of him? Dong Huang Baiji, who was currently pruning, asked lightly. Yi Hua sat in the pavilion at the side and said indifferently, Nope. It's fine if you don't have anything. What will come will come. We just have to be prepared to fight against him. Dong Huang Baiji appeared to be very confident and relaxed. I was still very worried a while ago, but for some reason, I am now confident again. Yi Hua drank a mouthful of the tea that the Empress brewed and said faintly, I like to be in control of everything, and I never do things that I am not confident in. Everything is in control of everything. What else is there to be fun about? Dong Huang Baiji, who was seriously pruning, said lightly. This sentence of hers was rather similar to Yi Hua's imposing manner. After hearing that, Yi Hua went into a daze. When did you have such a thought? Wasn't it taught by you? Didn't you always say that once you know everything, there wouldn't be any more surprises? Dong Huang Baiji said softly. After hearing what Dong Huang Baiji said, Yi Hua suddenly woke up. Recently, I seem to have changed a bit. I don't really like surprises anymore. This is a very serious matter. It is fortunate that Dong Huang Baiji reminded me. If not, I would have lost myself. That wouldn't be fun anymore. That's right, surprises. I won't go and investigate. Yi Hua said with a slight smile. He immediately relaxed, and he felt that the tea had become much more fragrant and sweet.
Dong Baiji laughed, then turned her head and looked towards Yi Hua. This is how your honor should be, magnanimous.
Yi Hua raised up his thumb towards the empress. As expected of my woman, she is becoming more and more understanding. I wonder what the other three are doing right now. Are they accompanying mother to play outside? Are they really not coming back? Yi Hua immediately contacted Qing Yutong. Brother-in-law, do you have any instructions for me? Are you missing sister-in-law? Qing Yutong was still the same as before, teasing her brother-in-law. Yi Hua even heard Qing Ye saying, Yutong, can you speak properly? I can't. When Yi Hua heard the two sisters quarreling, a smile appeared on his face. I haven't heard their voices for a very long time, and I do miss them quite a bit. Where are mother and Yuqing? Yi Hua asked curiously. Qing Yutong said, they went to the toilet. Are you two still bringing mother to play outside the country? Yi Hua asked curiously. These two sure are playful, the kind that doesn't even know that they are coming back. Qing Ye said lightly, no, we are currently resting in the service area. Service area? Are you two on the highway? That's right. We are bringing mother to Shirley Art Gallery to play. The scenery there is great. Mother wants to go and have a look. I have never been there before. Yi Hua pouted his mouth. I have been living in Gao High City all this time, and I have never left that place before. It is even more impossible for me to go on a vacation. Brother-in-law, you can also come over now. We can go on a vacation together. Io, big sister, why did you hit me? Qing Ye said tenderly. Yi Hua, if you are done with your matters, come and play with us. Actually, mother also wants you to accompany her. If you are busy, then forget it. Yi Hua wrinkled his brows. I am pretty much done with my matters recently. How about I go and play with you too? We haven't really traveled together much. Aya, that's great. Call the Empress over as well. Let's play together. Qing Yutong laughed happily. Qing Yutong also wanted to travel together with Yi Hua. All right, wait for me for a while. Yi Hua decided, it's good to go and relax. Chapter 1274. After ending the call, Yi Hua stood up and said, Baiji, let's go and accompany mother to play for a few days. Yi Hua merely wanted to go and play for a few days. After all, there were still things that had not been completely settled here. What he was referring to was, of course, the matter regarding the guardian. Are we heading over right now? Dong Baiji asked puzzledly. Yi Hua nodded his head. I will accompany my mother for a trip. Is that so? All right then, I'll go and change my clothes. You should go and change too. What we're wearing now is a bit too exaggerated. Dong Baiji took a look at the emperor gown that Yi Hua was wearing and the emperor gown that she was wearing. It is very normal for us to be wearing the emperor gown here, but if we were to go to the other side, it would be very abnormal. Yi Hua felt that Yi Hua was right. Such a way of dressing is indeed a bit exaggerated. He put on his black suit, and that familiar feeling came. He felt that he hadn't worn a suit for a long time. As for Dong Baiji, she had changed into a blue long skirt, and she looked very fairy-like. Coupled with that absolutely beautiful face of hers, tsk, Yi Hua was unable to describe what he saw. However, in Yi Hua's eyes, he was already used to it, and he felt that it was nothing much. Is it beautiful? Dong Baiji spun one round on the spot. In actuality, Dong Baiji was indeed very beautiful, and Dong Baiji also wanted Yi Hua to praise her. Every woman would want to hear such praises, even if they were old couples. Especially Yi Hua, after so many years, it was very rare for him to praise his wife for being beautiful. Yi Hua took a look then said faintly, not bad. Dong Baiji. Meeting a man who didn't know how to speak was really embarrassing. But then again, only honest men wouldn't say sweet nothings. Scumbags would just run their mouths off. Dong Baiji didn't expect Yi Hua to praise her beauty anymore. Dong Baiji let out a deep sigh in her heart. Let's go. Yi Hua didn't say anything. I feel that the Empress should be having her period, and for her mood to be a bit erratic, I am able to understand. The two of them disappeared on the spot. When they reappeared,
They were already in the service area. Of course, they appeared in a place where there was no one. Looking at the service area in front of him and the big goods, Yihua actually had a feeling that he had returned home. Donghuang Baiji also had the same feeling. Everything in front of her is so familiar. From afar, Yihua saw Qingya and the others, and when he saw his mother, Yihua smiled lightly. When Lu Jing saw that her son had come, she also appeared to be very happy. Just now, when she heard her daughter-in-law say that Yihua was coming, she still did not believe it. Now he believed it. Mother. Yihua walked to the front of his mother and called out lightly. Lu Jing held onto Yihua's hand and said with concern, "You must have been very busy during this period of time. Have you settled everything?" "Mother, be at ease. Everything has been settled," Yihua said lightly. "Is little Tian okay?" No matter how Lu Jing pretended not to know, she was still very worried about her youngest son. Yihua nodded his head. "Mother, you can be at ease. Xiao Tian is doing very well right now, and there is one more good news that I want to tell you." Happy occasion? Lu Jing was puzzled. Even Qingya and the others who were beside him were puzzled. Could it be that you found another woman? Qingya immediately looked towards Donghuang Baiji. Qingya seemed to be saying, "Why didn't you look after Yihua properly and let him bring a woman home from outside?" Donghuang Baiji shook her head, indicating that she was not talking about this matter. In actuality, she knew what Yihua wanted to talk about. Gong Yu is pregnant with little Tian's child. Yihua laughed lightly. This should be a happy occasion, right? Sure enough, when Lu Jing heard this news, she instantly revealed a happy expression. Really? Gong Yu is pregnant with little Tian's child? That's right. Gong Yu is currently resting in the palace. In a few more months, the child will be born. This is great. Little Tian is going to be a father. Lu Jing was very happy. This was the happiest thing that she had ever heard. My eldest son and youngest son both have children. My life can finally be considered to be perfect. Yihua let out a breath and decided to tell them about this matter. There is another bad news, Yihua said gravely. Sure enough, when Yihua said this, Lu Jing, who was extremely happy just a moment ago, became nervous. Qingya and the others couldn't stand Yihua anymore. Can't he just tell us everything in one go? To actually give us good news and bad news at the same time. Did something happen? Lu Jing asked nervously. Yihua said regretfully, Yi died. Sure enough, when everyone heard this news, their expressions immediately became grave. In actuality, Lu Jing quite liked that child, Yi. Yi is kind-hearted and doesn't have any schemes. What happened previously was all a misunderstanding, and Lu Jing was even thinking that if Yi became her daughter-in-law, that would be pretty good too. But now Yi actually died? Chen Yuqing was also very shocked. Wasn't Yi going through her tribulation just now? After going through her tribulation, Yi became a god. How did she die just like that? Qing Yutong asked confusedly, "Brother-in-law, wasn't Yi very powerful? How did this happen?" Yihua didn't explain too much and said in a low voice, "She died because she was trying to save someone." Although there wasn't a process, Lu Jing seemed to have understood. Yi is a kind-hearted girl. It is little Tian who let her down. Yihua nodded his head. For this matter, I, the Supreme Overlord, also have an unshirkable responsibility. Don't tell little Tian about this matter. It will be fine as long as we know about it. Yihua warned. Wasn't the reason why little Tian went to train this time for the sake of Yi? If the obsession in little Tian's heart was gone, little Tian wouldn't be able to be happy for the rest of his life. Qingya said disappointedly, however, paper can't wrap up fire. One day, little Tian will know about it as well. Let's talk about it when the time comes. Yihua let out a breath. The trip that was supposed to be a joyous one, along with Yi's death, became a bit dull. Donghuang Baiji wanted to tell Yihua to talk about this matter after the trip. Alright, where are you guys planning to go? Donghuang Baiji changed the topic and asked. Qingya knew what Donghuang Baiji meant and said, "We are planning to go to Yangshuo County." "What are we waiting for then? Let's go." Donghuang Baiji said tenderly as she held onto Lu Jing's arm. Lu Jing let out a light sigh and sat on the alfaro that was at the side. Yihua saw that the people around him actually took out their phones and started taking pictures. It can't be helped, who asked these women to be so beautiful? It would be a pity if I don't take care of them. However, when everyone saw Yihua sitting on the Alfaro, they all felt that it was a pity. There are so many beautiful women here, and yet, a man actually got on top of them. The heavens really don't have eyes, this is truly heartache.
Qing Yutong drove the car.
At this moment, Lu Jing said in a low voice, "After we finish here, I will go back and take care of Gongyu.
After all, I am pregnant right now."
Yihua went into a daze for a moment, then said, "Mother, there is someone taking care of Gongyu."
"How can that person be taken care of by me?"
"Mother, I am also worried, if something happens to little Tian's child." Lu Jing was incomparably worried. "Yi is already gone, I have to properly take care of this child."
Chapter 1275.
After hearing that, Yihua didn't say anything. "I know what my mother means. I'll just let my mother go." Qingya asked curiously, "Yihua, what exactly happened when we were not around?"
"It's a bit troublesome. I'll tell you when I go to the hotel tonight."
Yihua said lightly. He didn't want his mother to worry about him. After all, the current crisis has not been completely eliminated yet.
After hearing that, Qingya became heavy.
For Yihua to say that it's troublesome, it should be a big problem. After arriving at the hotel, Lu Jing needed to rest for a bit. And when the four women arrived at Yihua's room, Qingya and the others wanted to hear what exactly happened.
"Yihua, what exactly happened?"
Qingya sat at the bedside and lightly held onto Yihua's hand. She felt that Yihua seemed to be very tired. Yihua told the three women about what happened, and the three women went into a daze. So many things happened during these few days. Fortunately, all of Yihua's subordinates have gathered together, and this can be counted as a good news. However, why does Qingya feel that Yi's death seems to be caused by the fight between Yihua and that palace master? The fight between the two actually destroyed the entire plane. Just how terrifying is that? Wei Chong still has such a brain. Not bad. He deceived all of us.
Qingya sighed.
After hearing that, Yihua smiled helplessly. That's right, this Wei Chong is indeed ruthless this time, he deceived all of us. Qian Yuqing asked gravely, "Yihua, just who is that fortune teller? To actually be able to predict the ending thousands of years ago.
He might just be making things up."
Qing Yutong felt that Yihua was just a scammer. Qingya immediately knocked on her head. "Then why don't you make something up for Big Sister to see?" Qing Yutong pouted her mouth and said petulantly, "Big Sister, I'm so stupid, it's all because you knocked on my head. As for what this fortune teller is, we might find out in the future." Yihua said faintly. "This should be counted as a surprise. I wonder if it will be a scare or not." Dong Huang Baiji said in a low voice, "Right now, the main problem is still with the guardian."
Qingya nodded her head.
"This matter cannot be looked down upon." Yihua stood up and walked to the balcony at the side. Looking at the mountain outside, he said faintly, "Let's talk about these things after we return, we came out this time to relax." Qingya hugged Yihua from behind and said tenderly, "Let's face this together when we return." Yihua held onto Qingya's small hand, and a trace of a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Next, Yihua listened to Qingya and the others talk about the interesting things that happened during the past few days. 1 hour later, Yihua prepared to bring his whole family to Shirley Art Gallery to play. However, he heard from the tour guide that it would be better to rent a scooter. That way, it would be more convenient. Yihua had never ridden an electric scooter before, so he felt that he could give it a try. 3 electric scooters were just nice. However, the problem was that all 4 of his wives wanted to sit behind Yihua. At this time, Qingya displayed magnanimity and gave the opportunity to the other 3. However, a problem came. Yihua actually doesn't know how to ride on 2 wheels. This caused Qing Yutong to laugh out loud, and even Lu Jing laughed out loud. So it turns out that there are still things that Yihua doesn't know how to do. Yihua was very embarrassed. A dignified supreme overlord, an existence that would destroy an entire plane at the slightest provocation, actually doesn't know how to ride an electric scooter. After trying a few times, Yihua felt that it was better to give up. But now the problem was, who was Yihua going to sit behind?
Qing Ya was still Qing Yutong, was still the empress. Qian Yuqing doesn't know how to ride an electric scooter either. Looking at the three women, in the end, Yi Hua still chose to sit behind his sister-in-law. Qing Yutong was very happy, and she even provoked her big sister and the empress a bit. This caused Qing Ya and Dong Huang Baiji to gnash their teeth in anger. This Qing Yutong, just you wait. Lu Jing looked at her son and daughter-in-law quarreling with each other and felt very happy. After choosing, Qing Ya took out her phone and navigated to Shirley Art Gallery. I heard that place is rather fun, and there are even delicious free-range chickens. Of course, whether or not it is free-range chickens, I don't know. This was the first time that Yi Hua rode on this kind of transportation tool, and it seemed a bit special.
Especially when other men saw him, their eyes seemed to be saying, to actually let a woman ride on you, you are simply not a man at all.
Furthermore, it is such a beautiful woman, this is truly making one feel despair. There are also a lot of beautiful women at the side. Is this a concentration camp for beautiful women? They are definitely not together. Switch, switch. Yi Hua had already hugged enough and decided to switch to another hug. The surrounding men saw Yi Hua coming down from the carriage, then riding on another woman and hugging onto another woman. She felt like killing someone. This shameless man was actually taking turns to hug her. He was simply goddamn. Let's go and eat first. Lu Jing said lightly. Yi Hua felt that it was fine. Let's go and eat first, then play. I heard that there are even hot air balloons and the like here. Although I am flying every day, hot air balloons are also quite romantic. Yi Hua decided to bring his wife to try it out later on. If not, people will always say that I, the supreme overlord, don't know how to be romantic. These women's requirements are simply too high. After walking into a shop that had a lot of people at the roadside, before they even entered the shop, an auntie ran over. Handsome guy, beautiful girl, have you bought the tickets yet? I have cheap tickets here. Does Yi Hua look like someone who lacks money? That doesn't exist. However, the auntie was a bit persistent as she chased after Yi Hua and said, the tickets for this hot air balloon are the lowest in the entire venue, 80 yuan per person. Bring the lady up to experience it, there are also helicopters and so on. Do you need me to say it a second time? Yi Hua's temper immediately flared up, and his gaze turned cold. The auntie could feel that Yi Hua's gaze was not good, and immediately ran away. Under normal circumstances, Yi Hua wouldn't act like this, but he was a bit annoyed in his heart, and thus, he wasn't able to control himself. Yi Hua, that's enough. It's not easy for others. Just talk nicely. Lu Jing said in a low voice. Yi Hua didn't say anything and nodded his head. Mother's words are still useful. If it was Qing Ya's words, then I would have directly ignored it. This was the difference between a mother and a wife. Boss, do you want to eat something? A big sister ran over and asked with a smile. Do you have any signature dishes here? Yi Hua asked faintly while holding on to the menu. We have beer fish here, all of them are local fish. We also have lotus leaf chicken, bamboo tube chicken, etc. What do you want to order? Yi Hua was too lazy to look at the menu and said faintly, give me a bit of all of them. This caused the lady boss to be a bit stupefied. How much is a bit? What if I give too much and I'm not satisfied? Qing Ya took over the menu and said with a slight smile, give me a serving of all of these signature dishes. The fish must have no bones. All right, please wait for a moment. The lady boss immediately went to prepare the dishes. Seeing that Yi Hua's expression wasn't very good, Qing Ya said tenderly, Yi Hua, since you are already out to play, just be happy. Yi Hua took out a stick of cigarette and lit it up, then said faintly, I understand. Chapter 1276. After taking out a stick of cigarette and lighting it up, Yi Hua leaned against the chair. His gaze was still a bit grave, not knowing why. I keep thinking about the curse of the palace master. However, upon thinking about the curse of the palace master, Yi Hua wished that he could scold himself. The curse of a defeated opponent, why should I be afraid? Thinking about it, Yi Hua wasn't concerned about the curse of the palace master. Rather, he was concerned about the person who placed the curse on the palace master. After all, tens of thousands of years ago, the palace master knew that he was going to die and said those words before he died. Is it true or false? Is that fortune teller that awesome? Or could it be he is just bluffing? This made me a bit vexed. Originally, I wanted to use this trip to relax and not think about this problem. But I discovered that I am basically unable to get rid of this problem.
Yihua, why is your expression so strange?
Chen Yuqing asked worriedly.
She discovered that Yihua's expression was a bit strange.
Yihua shook his head, expressing that he is fine.
How can I possibly be scared? That is something impossible.
Lu Jing suddenly asked.
Yihua, are you afraid of something?
Along with Lu Jing's words, everyone went into a daze. In the eyes of Qingya and the others, would Yihua be afraid?
Yihua is that kind of fellow who is not afraid of anything. The word afraid doesn't exist in his heart at all.
Thus, they didn't think that Yihua was afraid. However, Yihua suddenly came to a realization. I am actually afraid. Yihua's breathing became a bit hurried. Why would I have such an emotion?
I have felt afraid in the past, but that kind of fear was because I was afraid of losing them. The quarrel at the beginning was very vexing.
But, what am I afraid of? Am I afraid of death? Yihua wasn't afraid of death. When a person has someone to rely on, they wouldn't dare to easily die.
Yihua was afraid of what would happen to his mother after he died, what would happen to Qingya and the others, what would happen to his children, and what would happen to his subordinates. However, Yihua didn't know what was going on in his mind and was currently thinking about his own emotions. I feel that I am losing face. I am actually afraid. What the hell?
The dishes are here, boss. Enjoy slowly. The passionate lady boss could be seen serving the dishes. Qing Yutong obediently placed the bowls and chopsticks on the table.
Yihua let out a sigh of relief and hurriedly threw away that feeling of fear.
Afterward, I thought to myself, that doesn't exist. It's impossible for me to be afraid. Who else in this world can defeat me? This beer fish is not bad. Yihua, try it. Lu Jing picked up a piece of fish and passed it to her son.
Yihua squeezed out a smile. A very ugly smile.
Qingya and the others could clearly feel the change in Yihua, and they thought to themselves, this fellow. He can't be really afraid, right? Yihua noticed Qingya's gaze and immediately glared at her. What is she thinking about?
I, the Supreme Overlord, am not afraid. However, this beer fish is really not bad, and it doesn't have any bones, and it melts upon entering the mouth. Qing Yutong tore off a chicken drumstick and gave it to Yihua. Brother-in-law, this lotus leaf chicken is rather fragrant too.
Dong Huang Baiji nodded her head. I have to let Blood Demon learn it. This beer fish soup mixed with rice is pretty good. Yihua, you should give it a try as well. It's really not bad. After speaking, Dong Huang Baiji scooped some rice for Yihua, and she even poured some fish soup into the bowl and began stirring it. Yihua took the rice that the Empress personally mixed with rice and tasted it. The taste is indeed not bad. Just now, I was still thinking of not eating it. In the end, scoop more rice for me. Yihua felt that the rice was really fragrant.
After eating and drinking to his heart's content, Yihua prepared to go and sit on a hot air balloon, ride on an electric scooter, and enjoy the cool breeze.
It feels pretty good.
Suddenly, a stench entered Yihua's nose, and even the body fragrance that was coming from his sister-in-law's body was unable to cover up the stench.
Where did you two run to?
Yihua, who was originally leaning on his sister-in-law's back, was about to fall asleep. This is a shortcut. This place seems to be a place for riding horses. This place is filled with horse dung. Qing Yutong held her breath. This place is so smelly. Yihua was also speechless. Why did you two want to take a shortcut? So boring. Yihua immediately used Qing Yutong's clothes to cover his nose. This place smells so much better. Qing Yutong was also speechless. This brother-in-law. Only Yihua would be able to do such a thing. If another man were to try this, he would have long been scolded by his wife. The bumpiness of the road also began, and Yihua felt that he was going to vomit.
Is this a vacation, or is this a torture?
I, the Supreme Overlord, really want to flatten this place to the ground. That way, the road wouldn't be so steep anymore. This electric scooter also doesn't have a good shockproof. It is shaking to the point that I am going to vomit. After lunch. After quite a while, the hot air balloon finally arrived, and there was even a glider at the side. Rumbling sounds could be heard coming from the air. Yihua stood at the side, and his face was a bit pale.
A dignified supreme overlord actually ended up like this because of an electric scooter. The main thing is that I ate too much, and that fish was basically eaten by Yi Hua. I will go and buy the tickets. Qian Yuqing smiled slightly, then ran to buy the tickets. After that, everyone walked into the venue. The problem came again. To actually make me, the Supreme Overlord, queue up. When did I, the Supreme Overlord, ever queue up? Recently, my temper hasn't been good. It's best if you don't make me queue up. If not, I will make you, this hot air balloon, explode. Yi Hua, sit down. I will give you a massage. Qingya said tenderly. She knew that Yi Hua was currently very angry, so she planned to use tenderness to let Yi Hua cool down. Yi Hua sat down helplessly and accepted Qingya's kind intentions. Qian Yuqing, who was at the side, even placed Yi Hua's legs onto her body and lightly massaged them. This kind of treatment made everyone at the side stupefied. Is this even possible? Lowering his head and looking at his body. Why is the difference between my legs and my girlfriend's legs so big? After waiting for around 40 minutes, Yi Hua brought along his mother and wife and walked into the venue. Afterward, Qingya and the others sat on the hot air balloon. Qingya and the others, on the other hand, were very happy. However, after ascending for less than a minute, Yi Hua felt that he was descending, and he immediately became unhappy. I have waited for 40 minutes painstakingly down there, yet you just let me stand here for 1 minute. Seeing that Yi Hua was about to flip out, the wives could only comfort Yi Hua. How big is this matter? Yi Hua is getting more and more calculative. Yi Hua rubbed his forehead, then walked down from the hot air balloon and said gravely, "In the future, don't let me sit on this thing, trash." Lu Jing smiled helplessly after hearing this, and the other wives also shook their heads. His temper was really bad. Other than them, who else could stand it? Originally, Yi Hua still wanted to go and experience the glider that was at the side, but after thinking about it, if I wait for half an hour and stroll around on the glider for a few minutes, wouldn't I be making a huge loss? Isn't it great for me to fly up there and take a look? I don't even need to queue up. Let's go and take a look at the other things. Yi Hua said gravely and directly sat behind the Empress. Because the car was rather short, and Yi Hua was rather tall, Yi Hua's sitting posture was rather funny. Chapter 1277. Afterward, everyone went to visit all of 10 Miles Art Gallery's scenic spots, other than the ones that were queuing up. Yi Hua would turn around whenever he saw them. Qingya and the others blushed with shame. I might as well not come, this is truly vexing. Luckily, it wasn't the peak season for tourists. Most of them didn't need to queue up. However, Yi Hua discovered that, other than looking and looking, even after entering the karst cave twice, the feeling was still exactly the same. And his mother and wife were actually enjoying themselves, to the point that they even let me come and take a picture. Forget about taking a picture, but after taking a picture they even said that my technique is really not that good. I just wanted to say that. If you have the ability, then turn off the beauty filter, don't think that I didn't see it. Let's go to the West Street to eat. Yi Hua said gravely. Compared to looking, Yi Hua wanted to eat something more interesting. Qingya smiled and said, Yi Hua, you haven't tried the river snail rice noodles here, right? What is river snail rice noodles? Yi Hua asked puzzledly. This was the first time he heard of it. Qing Yutong laughed. Brother-in-law, you will know after you try it. Yi Hua nodded his head. Since it was recommended by them, it shouldn't be too bad. After arriving at the West Street, it was already 7 p.m. Yi Hua looked at the crowd in front of him and suddenly thought of a movie that he watched a few years ago. Maybe Slayer Tyrant is a good person. If he disappeared, how good would that be? I suddenly don't want to go anymore. Yi Hua, let's go and print some clothes. Before Yi Hua could even react, Donghuang Baiji pulled Yi Hua and ran to the 3D printing shop at the side. Seeing the shop owner's enthusiastic recommendation, Qingya and the others immediately fell for it. Yi Hua really wanted to knock their heads. What fun is there in this? In the end, he still couldn't change his mother's mind and got a family photo printed on the shop. And all of them were changed. Originally, Yi Hua was wearing a shirt, but now, it became a short-sleeved shirt. Yi Hua didn't like this kind of feeling. It made me seem as if I wasn't calm enough. Looking at the surrounding ladies, the way they look at me is all weird. They are all too daring. How is my body something that you all can look up to? Handsome, let's take a picture together. Without waiting for Yihua to react, a lady at the side left. A few black lines appeared on Yihua's forehead. These women actually plagiarized my appearance without my consent. Who knew if these women would come out in the middle of the night with a photo of themselves and do something that would make people's hair stand on end? Just thinking about it makes me a little dizzy. All right, don't be angry anymore, it's just a small matter, we aren't even jealous. Qingya laughed tenderly. Other people don't even have the time to laugh, and Yihua is actually still angry. When did I get angry? Don't talk nonsense. Okay. You're not angry. Let's go eat some noodles. Yihua nodded his head and decided to go and have a taste. After quite a while, Yihua looked at the bowl of river snail rice noodles in front of him, and a strange stench was being emitted out from it. Yihua's brows were already wrinkled very deeply. Lu Jing covered her mouth and chuckled. It was obvious that this was a prank. Yihua said gravely, Qingya, is this the delicacy that you were talking about? Yihua, this is the same principle as stinky tofu. Why don't you try it? It is actually very fragrant. Qingya laughed while covering her mouth. Yihua didn't believe that the stench of stinky tofu was different from this. This stinky tofu smelled just like *T. I don't have any appetite anymore. Yihua said gravely, then directly walked out of the restaurant. It doesn't matter whose face is anymore. Qingya was prepared to chase after Yihua, but Lu Jing stopped her. Let him walk by himself, Lu Jing said in a low voice. Yihua needed to be alone to calm down. Yihua indeed needed to be alone to calm down. My mind is a bit messy. I really want to find someone to talk to. But if I talk to my wife, it makes me seem like I am very weak. If I talk to my subordinates, it makes me, the boss, look like I am very weak. If I talk to my children, where would I, the supreme overlord, as a father, have any face left? Handsome guy, our bar is having a discount today, and there is even a famous DJ. A sexy lady said towards Yihua. Her eyes were filled with admiration. Such a handsome man. Yihua turned his head and looked towards the bar at the side. The bar was very noisy. Yihua didn't like this kind of bar. Yihua liked a quiet bar. Under the lady's deathly gaze, Yihua walked away. Yihua, who was walking within the crowd, was still so eye-catching. Along the way, there were a lot of ladies who tried to strike up a conversation with him, but Yihua just had a scowl on his face, not giving any face to anyone. Fortune-telling. Suddenly, a voice made Yihua stop his footsteps and look towards an old man who was at a corner at the side. The old man's face was yellow and wrinkled. Wearing sunglasses in the middle of the night, not placing a signboard beside him, and not even having a book. Truly incompetent. I have never believed in scammers like you. If I were to believe in scammers like you, then I would be an idiot. Handsome guy, isn't this fortune-telling? Yihua stopped his footsteps once again, then looked towards the fortune-teller and said coldly, Are you able to tell my fortune? Of course. Yihua didn't like arrogant people, thus, he decided to properly teach this scammer a lesson. Tell me then. Tell me about my troubles. Yihua sat on a small stool opposite of the fortune-teller. A trace of a smile appeared on the corner of the fortune-teller's mouth. Handsome guy, you are afraid in your heart. Hearing that, Yihua's face sunk. Who are you? Seems like my fortune-telling is correct. The fortune-teller muttered. Yihua stretched out his hand and waved it in front of the fortune-teller's eyes. Handsome guy, my eyes are blind, but my heart is not blind. Yihua didn't say anything and continued asking, Do you think that I will die? All living beings in the world will die one day. No matter who it is, they will not be able to escape from the cycle of reincarnation. Didn't you die once already? Yihua's expression stiffened. Then killing intent emerged from his body. He stretched out his hand and tried to grab the fortune-teller. However, what he grabbed was the air. Yihua, we will meet again. You often give people choices. When the time comes, I will also give you a choice. After finished speaking, the fortune-teller disappeared. Yihua shook his head. I am actually sitting at the entrance of a shop. Just now, I was too careless. This damned fortune-teller, he actually entered when I was feeling guilty and uneasy. And he actually dares to boast shamelessly and let me choose. Only a child would make a choice.
Yi Hua took a deep breath, took a look at the bar at the side, then walked into the bar. Perhaps, only a sound that is a bit more stimulating would be able to make me sober up. Tonight's bill will be paid by young Master Yi.
Following the DJ's shout, the crowd applauded.
Yi Hua looked at the crowd silently, then shouted out, "Wife, come over and pay the bill." "Qingya, I am acting cool outside, and in the end, I still have to let my wife pay the bill."
Chapter 1278.
Knowing that Yi Hua wasn't in a good mood, the wives were magnanimous and personally accompanied Yi Hua to play with him. Yi Hua felt that it was quite effective for me to pretend to be depressed. Needless to say, what a sensible wife. Not bad, not bad. I, the Supreme Overlord, am very gratified right now. In the next few days, Yi Hua went to visit Lu Songjie. I feel that Lu Songjie's place is pretty good. Just that, there are a lot of people in Lu Songjie's place.
Luckily, I booked the best ticket. I can sit at the top and watch the show.
Not bad, not bad. Of course, there was also the bamboo raft. Although all of the bamboo rafts are automatic right now and are no longer manually operated like in the past, but the mountain that is at the side looks pretty good.
Feeling the breeze and leaning on my fragrant wife, this is the life of an immortal. This kind of life passed quickly.
Lu Jing had originally planned to stay here for a long time, but Gongyu was pregnant and he wanted to go back to take care of her. Yi Hua could also tell that his mother wasn't in the mood to travel. After playing for 4 days, everyone returned to Wuxia Empire. As soon as Lu Jing returned to the palace, she went to see Gongyu, and so did Qingya. The treatment of pregnant women was indeed different. Gongyu didn't expect that after she was pregnant, even her mother would be so attentive. She felt grateful for her mother. Yi Hua, on the other hand, was planning to move on to the next step of his plan, which was to complete the unfinished legendary weapon plan. Previously, because of what happened to his subordinates, he had stopped working on it. Now it had to be reopened. After all, the days were a bit boring. In actuality, Yi Hua also wanted to give himself a guarantee. That fortune teller's strength doesn't seem to be weak, to the extent that he was able to run away from me. Although at that time, the fortune teller was only an afterimage, but at least the fortune teller was not discovered by me. Seems like this fortune teller is hiding in a corner, observing the main body. But so what? I still don't dare to show my face. This lousy fellow only knows how to hide in a corner and draw circles to curse me. What other abilities does he have? If he really had the ability, he would have already come out to fight me to the death. And you still dare to say that you want me to choose? Choose your sister. I, the Supreme Overlord, will only let others choose. I will never make my own choice. In order to obtain the detailed construction data, Yi Hua even made a trip to the God's realm to look for the current emperor of the demonic city. Jing Tian didn't expect that this man would appear again, and he was still afraid of Yi Hua. However, after hearing the reason why Yi Hua came, he still let out a breath of relief. However, Jing Tian did not dare to hide the details of the legendary weapons creation and told him all the details. He even said that he would gift his parting fire to Yi Hua. However, Yi Hua rejected it fiercely. Are you looking down on me? Do you think that I, the Supreme Overlord, am unable to forge a legendary weapon? You are truly thinking too much. I want to create an existence that is even more powerful than a legendary weapon. Yi Hua had stayed in Demonic City for at least a month, and he had absorbed a lot of experience in forging legendary weapons. He just had to go back and operate it. However, the problem was that the materials had not been found yet. All of his subordinates had been sent out to search for the materials. The progress was still very slow, and it would take at least 10 years to complete. Yi Hua stood in front of the palace and looked at the sky above Wuxia Empire with a slightly worried look on his face. Being invincible is truly lonely. He missed the days of the little skeleton and how dangerous those days were. What are you thinking about? Qian Yuqing hugged onto Yi Hua's back and lightly leaned onto Yi Hua's tiger back. Yi Hua looked at the night sky and said faintly, "Sometimes, I feel that it's really boring." Why do you suddenly have such a thought? Feel it. Qian Yuqing said tenderly, "Yi Hua, back then, Qingya brought me to your bar, and she even said that, from now on, we will be staying in the bar." That's right, the bar is indeed a quiet place, and there are a lot of memories in there. Compared to the past,
The memories in the bar are even more profound.
Qian Yuqing lightly rubbed onto Yi Hua's back. Then from now on, we will be staying there, and I will peel crayfish for you.
And did Qingya tell you that? Yi Hua laughed lightly. Peeling crayfish had now become a joke that they would only see every day. Qingya and Baiji also talked about a lot of things. I feel that it would be great if I was also there during those few years. I have missed out on too much. Qian Yuqing said gloomily while pouting her small mouth. Yi Hua turned around and lightly hugged onto Qian Yuqing. In the future, you will not miss out on those things anymore.
You are the one who said it. If you go back on your words, I will teach you a lesson. He. Yi Hua pinched onto Qian Yuqing's cheeks. Let's go, the party has just begun.
Today was Chinese New Year's Eve, and Yi Hua gathered all of his subordinates. Of course, other than those who were out for training, none of them were present. This was already a tradition. On Chinese New Year's Eve, everyone would have a reunion dinner together, and then have fun. Celebrate, and be happy. Your Honor, you went to the toilet for so long. Could it be that you went to play with your wife? Lai Gu seemed to have already drunk a lot, and his mouth was starting to talk nonsense. As Yi Hua's mount, only Lai Gu would dare to tease Yi Hua like this. Under this kind of atmosphere, Yi Hua didn't really mind. He hugged onto Qian Yuqing who was beside him and said with a smile, "That's right, I am very happy." After finished speaking, Yi Hua even kissed onto Qian Yuqing who was blushing. It was very clear that Qian Yuqing still wasn't used to this kind of environment, but Qingya and the others were already used to it. Blood Demon, who was acting as the cameraman, was currently recording everyone's happiness. Your Honor, how about singing a song for us? Lai Gu had a lot of ideas, and he had never heard his Honor sing in the past. At this moment, Pig Liver Denglong also suggested, how about letting his Honor sing a song with your wife? All right. This suggestion is not bad. All of Lai Gu's subordinates began cheering. Yi Hua gave Lai Gu a doom eyes. Brat, just you wait. Yi Hua wasn't someone who would spoil the mood. Isn't it just singing? If I, the Supreme Overlord, were to sing, I would definitely shock everyone. As a celebrity, it was not difficult for Qing Yutong to sing. Qing Yutong's singing was one of the best. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji aren't bad either. After all, beauties with beautiful voices wouldn't be bad at singing. At this time, Qing Yutong asked in a low voice, "Brother-in-law, what song do you know how to sing?" "Then, let's play a song, Lugger's Love," Yi Hua said faintly. After Qingya and the others heard what Yi Hua said, they were all speechless. However, since Yi Hua likes it, then let him do it. When the subordinates heard that his Honor was actually going to sing the song The Love of the Hauled Man, all of them became very excited. It's a pity that there are still some people who are not here. If not, it would be perfect. Your Honor is handsome. Your Honor is mighty. Your Honor, I'm your little fangirl. These words were said by Kai Yun, and he was even shaking the glow stick in his hand. Yi Hua's feeling came, along with the lyrics of the first sentence. His voice broke. The scene was a bit awkward. All of Lai Gu's subordinates were stupefied for a moment, then began praising his Honor for singing well, and all kinds of flattery, causing the atmosphere to become even more awkward. Chapter 1279. However, the main point wasn't whether his Honor sang well or not. Rather, being able to listen to his Honor's voice while standing on top of the stage, that was already an unparalleled honor. Who cares if his Honor sang well or not? Although Yi Hua was very out of tune, he still managed to finish singing the song. His spirit of singing received the applause of his subordinates. Everyone had a thought in their minds. In the future, I better not let his Honor sing anymore. This is too scary. I might as well just dance awkwardly with his Honor. However, Yi Hua didn't seem to be satisfied and said faintly, "I, the Supreme Overlord, sing another song, save everyone." His Honor, if you were to sing this song, then your subordinates would need to be saved. This is definitely not a joke. Yi Hua didn't know what his subordinates were thinking, and immediately started singing. A few minutes later, seeing that his Honor walked down from the stage, everyone let out a sigh of relief and clapped until their hands turned red. "Does it sound good?" Yi Hua asked Qingya. The corner of Qingya's mouth twitched. Good. Good. This is truly great. How about letting Yutong teach you?"
Yi Hua's face sunk. Qingya, are you saying that I, the Supreme Overlord, need someone to teach me if I don't sing well? How is that possible? Brother-in-law's singing skills are super great. Qing Yutong immediately smiled. Qingya shook her head. You all can just spoil him. Afterward, each of the subordinates went to sing a song. For example, Wei Chong. He actually started singing a song about love. Not bad. Yi Hua felt that he was a bit lacking compared to me. Zi Shan was also singing a song of longing. She was definitely thinking about Yi Hong. I have already been away for half a year. This kind of experience isn't something that can be accomplished in 1 or 2 years. It should be at least 10 years. However, when Death Mage went up to sing, the entire place immediately quietened down. Seriously. If you want to laugh, you have to be unable to hold it in. However, looking at Death Mage being so affectionate, if you were to laugh, it would be a bit impolite. However, Yi Zizi was the first one to laugh. Following Yi Zizi's laughter, the others finally couldn't hold it in anymore. Is it possible for a skeleton to not laugh when he sings with GGG? Unless his face is stiff. At 12 o'clock, everyone arrived outside of the palace. When midnight arrived, beautiful fireworks blossomed in the sky of the entire voidless empire. In the past, there was no tradition of celebrating Chinese New Year, but from this year onwards, there was a tradition of celebrating Chinese New Year. Looking at the fireworks in the sky, a trace of a smile could be seen on the corner of Yi Hua's mouth. My New Year's wish is that I hope that the entire guild can be happy and enjoy the joys of life, and let all of the enemies go to hell. 1 year after another. Time passed by in a hurry, but to people who learn martial arts, 12 years passed by very quickly. During these 12 years, everything was calm and peaceful. No one stirred up any trouble. Yi Hua had almost forgotten about the guardians. There was still that fortune teller who was researching on how to forge legendary weapons every single day. As a man, it was important to have his own interests and hobbies. However, the people who went out to train have yet to return. However, Yi Hua found out from Zhu Tian's mouth that those people were very strong right now, and that they would be returning soon. However, within the entire team, a young man also appeared. That was Gong Yu's child, Yi. From this name, it could be seen that Gong Yu seemed to have let go of a lot of things. Maybe Gong Yu was also apologizing for the things that happened in the past. At that time, she had framed Yi too much. Yi was an obedient boy. Although he was only 12 years old, his achievements were extraordinary. At such a young age, he had already surpassed his mother's strength, and his looks were also inherited from his father and mother. In the future, he would definitely be a very handsome person. Ever since Yi was born, he had never seen his father. He had only seen his big uncle, big aunt, grandma, and big uncle's subordinates. However, the person that Yi wanted to see the most was his father. Just that right now, his father had yet to return home. But hearing that his father was going to return home soon, Yi was very happy. I heard that I still have cousin brother and cousin sister, but I have never seen them before. My mother said that, when they were very young, they were sent away by big uncle. Compared to my cousin brother and cousin sister, I am really lucky to be able to grow up by my mother's side. In actuality, Yi Hua was planning to send Yi away. Gong Yu had no choice and was unable to stop him, but Lu Jing was firmly against it. How can all the children be sent away? Yi Hua was unable to change his mother's mind and could only compromise. However, after so many years, other than Gong Yu who gave birth to a child, the others did not have any reaction at all. For example, Zhu Tian and Brett, no matter what, they were unable to get a child. It was not only the two of them. Even Yi Hua and Qian Yuqing were unable to get pregnant. This caused Yi Hua to be very shocked. It must be that fortune teller who cursed me. Back then I gave birth to one child at a time, and now, I actually caused my wife to be unable to get pregnant. As a man, this is a shameful action. Even if Qing Su concocted medicine, he would not be able to solve the problem of population growth. Qian Yuqing was naturally very depressed. Why can't I get pregnant? At first I thought that it was because of me, and I was very worried, afraid that Yi Hua would not like me. After all, a woman not being able to give birth to a man's child, this is very hard to accept. However, later on, she found out that Qing Yutong was also unable to get pregnant. Finally, she felt relieved. It is not my problem.
It is Yihua's problem.
However, she did not dare to say such words.
In the past, Qing Yutong did not want to have a child, and now that she wanted to have a child, she was unable to get pregnant. This caused Qing Yutong to be depressed every day. Qing Ya and Dong Huangbaiji's consolation did not work. Right now, Yihua felt that he had to solve this pregnancy problem. Why is it that the entire party is unable to get pregnant? This shouldn't be a curse, it should be a problem with feng shui. Should I change a place to give birth? For example, go to a bar? After all, Ali and the others were all born in a bar. Yihua tried it, but in the end, it was still useless. Seems like I, the Supreme Overlord, have to go and take a look at the andrology department.
After 12 years of development, Wuxia Empire was no longer that small empire in the past, and it had already expanded by a few times. If one were to walk through the entire Wuxia Empire, it would take at least a month. From this, it could be seen just how big Wuxia Empire was. Yihua also brought his own ideology into the empire, the coexistence of humans and other races. Although there were conflicts in the beginning, no one dared to go against Yihua. After all, no one wanted to go to the execution ground. With such a forceful method, the people from other races moved into the empire. It could be discovered that the humans were actually afraid of the other races, and the other races were also afraid of the humans, afraid that the other party would harm them. This kind of situation continued for a year, and after that the situation became a lot better, and the humans were no longer that afraid of the other party.
However, the people from other races didn't live separately, and Yihua considered that it was not realistic, thus, he divided a piece of land for the people from other races to live in. All in all, the current situation was a good one. What was worth celebrating was that 1 year ago, a human male got married to a woman from another race. Chapter 1280. This caused a sensation in the entire Wuxia Empire, and even Yihua was shocked. He personally attended the wedding and advocated for this method. He wanted to encourage, support, and even provide subsidies. The cost of the children's growth would all be borne by Wuxia Empire.
When this news came out, it indeed encouraged a lot of humans. However, there were some females of different races that were really hard to get along with. For example, the ox-head woman, her entire body was covered with brown fur, and no matter how beautiful she was, she still had horns on her head.
This was an extremely challenging thing.
Even with all kinds of benefits, there were very few who were able to get along with one another, and there was only one pair right now. To this man, other people were very envious of him. After all, he was marrying a fox. Although the fox's ears were furry, that only added to the cute atmosphere.
Furthermore, no matter how bad the fox race was, the females were all beauties. Of course, the prerequisite was that you had to endure the fox odor. However, with Wuxia Empire's strength, solving this problem was a piece of cake. Yihua even directly gave the order to help the fox race get rid of the fox odor for free. This was another benefit. Right now, there were still people who were dating, but they had not reached the stage of marriage. After all, this required time to get used to each other. Human ladies liked handsome men too, and the fox race was full of handsome men too. Human men liked beautiful women too, and the fox race was the best choice. Actually, in the human world, the fox race was more like slaves, and they could be bought with money. Those who were rich all liked this type of people. The fox race naturally knew this point as well.
In the process of interacting with humans, they were also very careful.
If not for the emperor's decree, they wouldn't even dare to interact with humans. What Yihua gave was the female protection law. As long as the evidence was conclusive, the person who molested a woman would be directly beheaded. Knowing how ruthless the emperor was, no one dared to touch a woman, not even dared to use their hands. If they were to touch a woman, they would immediately die. This made the unmarried women of Wuxia Empire clap their hands. To them, Wuxia Empire was like a paradise. In this place, they did not need to fear the nobles, and they also did not need to fear their enemies. This kind of feeling was super good. Yihua also advocated it. However, the evil Lai Gu was thinking, is it really good for humans and beasts to be together? Dong dong dong. Within Wuxia Empire's palace, the sound of smithing rang out in the emperor's bedroom.
This sound had already rang out for 12 years, and the people in the palace were already used to it.
The emperor had a hobby, and that was smithing. The children are finally coming back, Qingya said excitedly. After 12 years, Qingya had changed a little. This change wasn't because she had become old, rather, she had become more mature. Her temperament and aura had also become very powerful. Right now, ordinary people wouldn't even dare to look straight into Qingya's eyes. Donghuang Baiji, who was sitting on the opposite side, revealed a smile on her face as well. That's right, it has been 12 years. Looking at the time, Ali should be 20 years old now, right? She should be a big girl now. The Empress was getting more and more beautiful. As expected, time could make a woman even more charming. For the past 12 years, Qingya and Donghuang Baiji really didn't even take a single look at the children. Of course, this was all because Yihua didn't allow them to do so, and the reason that Yihua gave them was very weird. Are you curious about what the children will be like after 12 years? Anyway, a few years have passed, so just bear with it. Every single time, Yihua would always use this sort of excuse, angering Qingya, Donghuang Baiji, and Yihua to sleep on separate beds. To be honest, even Yihua was curious about what the children had become. If it was possible, Yihua would be able to see the children at any time. However, Yihua didn't do that. In fact, he didn't even go and inquire about the children's whereabouts. Lu Jing had already told Yihua many times, "How can there be a father like you, not seeing your children for more than 10 years? Towards the issue of children, Yihua was very persistent. "Aya, I wonder what Yen has become." Qing Yutong supported her chin with both of her hands. Although a smile could be seen on the corner of her mouth, a hint of hesitation could be seen in the depth of her gaze. Qing Yutong calculated her age. "I am already 30+ years old. I also want to have a child. Back then, I wanted to play around more, but now that I want to have a child, I am unable to give birth to a child." After 12 years, Qing Yutong had lost her immaturity, and she had become much more mature. She was no longer like how she was in the past. Back then, she was just like a crazy girl. Qian Yu Qingmin, who was at the side, let out a light sigh as she drank her tea. The question in her mind was the same as Qing Yutong. "I am so envious of Qingya and Baiji for having a son and a daughter with Yihua." Donghuang Baiji laughed. "I am rather curious, did God Ye's personality change a little?" "That's right. There is also Lu Er's personality." Qingya was a bit worried. Yi Lu's personality is pretty much the same as God Ye's. The two ice lumps definitely inherited Yihua's personality. Yi Yan is much better, and of course, there is also Ali. As long as I think that I will be able to see my children very soon, my heart will become extremely excited. They are already taller than me right now. Qingya stood up and gestured with a motherly radiance on the corner of her mouth. Qing Yutong and Qian Yu Qingmin were about to die of depression. These two freaks who are showing off their children these few days, they have been talking about their children this and that. What are the two of us, who are unable to get pregnant, going to do? Donghuang Baiji said lightly. "Look at this fellow, he doesn't seem to mind at all. He only knows how to forge iron every day. He might as well just sleep together with iron. He doesn't want to sleep together with us." Men, especially Yihua, don't seem to know how to express their feelings. In actuality, the longing in his heart was not any less than Qingya and Baiji. After all, they were all his children. Right now, Yihua was currently hammering a piece of black-colored iron sheet. Judging from the degree of hardness, this piece of iron sheet was not an ordinary iron sheet. After all, for Yihua to be able to be hammered by the black-colored iron sheet and not break it, it was sufficient to prove that the black-colored iron sheet wasn't broken. Yihua appeared to be very focused, and also appeared to be very careful. This piece of metal is pure gold. In actuality, the degree of hardness of the pure gold was not that exaggerated. On the contrary, the pure gold was very fragile. If one did not control the pure gold properly, the pure gold would break. However, if one did not have enough strength, the pure gold would not be able to form the pure gold. This was the difficult part. Controlling one's own strength. To Yihua, this was not an easy thing to do. Thus, tiny beads of sweat could be seen appearing on Yihua's forehead. This piece of pure gold had already been forged for 5 years, and right now, the appearance of the pure gold had already reached the level that Yihua desired. It was a saber, but it was not an ordinary saber. The body of the saber was slender and much longer than the average saber, reaching 1 meter long. If the handle was added, it would be at least 1.2 meters long. In the future, When the heavenly flame was added, the color would change.
This was also the most difficult step. This was because there was only one chance.
If he failed, he might not be able to find the materials in a short period of time. Suddenly, Yi Hua stopped.
Your Honor. Zhu Tian knelt at the side and shouted out respectfully. Yi Hua said gravely, Zhu Tian, when I am forging, I need to concentrate.
Subordinate was rash.
Zhu Tian said apologetically. You're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.